Hey guys, quick introduction. I am if you don't know who I am, I guess. I am a Japanese to English technical translator, oddly enough, believe it or not. And I do a stream on the internet where I translate games. I consider myself anti-political. I don't believe in left and right. I have one political motivation, and that is children's education. I think the public school system should be abolished. I think it's a horrible thing. But anyways, colleges are fucked too. You guys ready? This is a video been going around, I suppose, about this with this Serfs guy, and he seems just ridiculous. I've known about him for a little while. I don't really watch Timcast too much. I watched him more when he used to talk about being like a skateboarder all the time on those old ones, you know. But he was, I don't know, I dug it back then. More recently, the more like it's I don't know. It kind of just stuff now is too much, just nothing. Like just ideas and theories that just kind of, you know, scare you and make you negative and shit. I don't really watch it too much. But anyways, this one is ridiculous, and a lot of people are covering it, and I think it should be covered, so let's try and do our own insight on it. I'm going to skip around a bunch. We'll start from the very start, and then we'll skip around. The thing's really long. Okay, so let me skip
people
in.
were trying to subdue him, and then in the effort kind of heat under all
I don't know. Ignore, right? Oh, there we go.
Watching this
Evil
show
acid.
so much. Yeah.
Just watching a TV show, bro.
It's like,
Wait, actually,
Okay, we got to get to the interesting parts, right?
Wednesday. Neely is recognizing us. He went up to
When do they start arguing?
The last guy to be arrested.
Sorry, I'm gonna talk while I'm doing this. Yeah, just do this for. Okay, well now we talk.
That's terrible.
Attempted murder.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they die. So that's
Oh Jesus.
Proportionality argument, or are you making?
yes.
an
I'm asking.
intent
Well, I'm
argument?
asking you that because I never said that.
Let's see this first silly one. This is probably the first silly thing he says. If look at it, let's look at his face, and Tim kind of getting like, what the heck already? What are you talking about? So let's see. This might be the first silly thing. Let's figure out what the hell is going on now. Now that I've skipped around enough, they're all confused.
This guy should be criminally charged, but there was no call for stopping the 25 people being pushed on the subway tracks. That's an ongoing and acceptable thing, I suppose.
I'm never going to sit here and try and defend people pushing people on the subway tracks. That's a crime. Like, that's terrible.
Attempted murder.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they die. So that's horrible. No
Especially if they die.
one's going to be on the other side of that argument. But in terms of like the guy who just got killed, isn't, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, doesn't in self-defense the proportionality of what you're doing has to be in response to the actual aggressive actions of the person, right? It has to be proportional. Is it?
I think it's to what you. It's not proportional to what they did. It's proportional to your threat, like how safe you feel, like how big of a threat they are to you. It's like relative, kind of, right? It's like because it depends on how much of a threat you think you're in that situation. Is a big part of it. It's not necessarily the action. It is the actions, but it's like how much of a threat the actions represent and stuff, you know. It's not really. It's already kind of reframed, I think.
Sure. Is that correct? So you feel in your mind that it was a proportional response
Oh, but then he describes that. Okay.
for him to choke him out to death in that situation.
Oh, he's talking about Tim's mind. He does not talk about the person in the self-defense situation. Well, first you have to think about the self-defense situation, not the actions. To justify self-defense, you have to put yourself in the person that is defending themselves. Do they think they're defending themselves? That's it. That's how it works. He hasn't done that yet. We're just talking about what Tim thinks. Okay.
Because
I see this guy. It does not seem to use logic, huh?
he was going to become such a threat to the person who choked him out.
But you made a big leap right there.
What's
Tim's right.
Ian, you're ascribing intent to the Marine to kill.
Oh, I'm not saying that he intended to kill him.
Oh, we're talking about the subway thing. Okay. Yeah, so the idea then is, did he think he was that much of a risk that was worth doing that, right, is the question. And if a reasonable person can say, yeah, then it's probably self-defense, yeah, or you know, something like that. I don't know. I'm no legal expert, but that seems to be the spirit of the idea.
I never said that, but he did end up killing him, right?
That's immaterial.
Well, no, but what has to be material, Tim?
No, see, but Tim's right. What's important is it really true or not? What's important is, was his intent to not kill him or to kill him? And in that, I mean, no, it wasn't. What the fuck? I'm letting his thing take it away. No, the important part is, in the moment, did he think he needed to do it just for the safety of himself and other people? Right? Because you can also do self-defense for other people too. It's not just for you, right? So the thing is the whole framing is not real. It's like, is that person a threat to everybody around them, and how much of a threat? And then that's kind of what you should be asking. And we're skipping ahead, like Tim said.
Has to be. Is he doing what he's doing?
Proportionality argument, or are you making?
Yes, I'm asking. Well, I'm asking you that because is what he did proportional to the threat?
Yes.
So the threat that he was going.
Yeah. See, he says it there. Even the threat. It's not the action. It's the threat. The threat of what's going to come next. The threat. What's that? What is that risk?
It is proportional to subdue someone that is threatening other people and saying he'll die in the process,
and end up killing him, even if that was
Yeah. See, it keeps on the end up killing him, but self-defense. The killing is an accident. Like, I mean, it's not necessarily not an accident, but you know what I mean? Like, the killing isn't really, that's why it's like a legal, situation always. Well, it always could be a legal situation. But it's if the threat, if you need to do it. And the fact that it killed him, like he keeps saying, especially killing if it kills him. Like, he's focusing on that part, which obviously it's not good if you do it, but the important part was why he did it in the first place. Did that fit self-defense? If it did, the conversation's kind of over.
Oh, see, now you're doing it again. You're ascribing intent.
No, I'm not ascribing intent. I'm saying the results. This is what happened.
Right. We have to judge from law goes by the intent largely. Like, that's why there's a difference between manslaughter and murder, right? All these different things. And we can't guess you can try and figure out the intent, right? And you can try and make a case that this was their intent, and that's what the whole legal system is. But he's just saying it is, because the guy died, that was his intent. But yeah, no, it's wrong. We're gonna have to skip ahead. This part's really stupid. It's like a looper.
The guy's dead. He's dead, right?
Results are immaterial to the proportionality of action.
So the proportionality of action in your mind was justified to what he was doing.
He's not getting what he's saying, is he? Tim is saying it's we're talking about the proportionality. Is that part right? And it's like, well, he died. And it's like, no, but we're not on that part yet. Is the proportionality for the threat enough? Is the threat enough? Sorry, is it the threat enough to justify proportionality used? Yeah, right. It seems. I guess it depends. It's up to you. But that's the question. It doesn't matter that he died. That part, keep adding that part in, doesn't make any sense.
His actual actions.
He held the guy on the ground while he said call 911.
And killed him. And choked him out until he died.
Yeah, see, that's all the part. Even though, it's ignoring it's not even part of this topic.
Doing it again.
No, you keep saying I'm doing it again. I'm saying this is the end results. I'm not saying this is what he meant to do. Maybe.
But that's why. But the legal conversation is about what he meant to do. Self-defense is about what he meant to do. Self-defense is entirely about what he meant to do, right? That's why this is stupid, bro.
I don't know. I don't know what's in his heart. Right. Neither do you. None of us know what he meant.
And then they go like that. They go, oh, well, nobody knows, but I'm implying it anyways. Well, then don't say it. You are saying he intended to do it. You're assuming it. You're saying, since we can't tell, assume he meant to do it. That's ridiculous.
To do that day when he woke
absolutely.
Up, right?
If someone is threatening other people, you are allowed to subdue them.
And then would it be like an involuntary manslaughter?
So
No, but this is what happened. It's to the point of death. So you have.
Let's skip ahead, man.
You could kill them.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
It's still the same conversation. How many minutes? Hold on. Let's look how long it goes. So this whole argument starts. You guys can see the timer in the corner there, right? This argument here, where it starts getting stupid, is about 9 minutes. Right? That's when it starts getting stupid. And where were we a second ago? Let's check here.
Because
still death. He's only be talking to this one point, and the conversation is not going to move on, is it? Because some people are like this, bro. Here's why I wanted to do this, because this is talking to a lot of people now. They don't really use reason, and I'm gonna see if like maybe we can get some insights to help people deal with this situation, because this is what a lot of us find ourselves in. Talking to somebody that thinks they're using reason, thinks they're talking in a way that makes sense, but it's not, it doesn't make sense, and it's like delusional, you know? That's what these type of people do. They're like delusional. It's like their elephant, which is your like subconscious, is just running wild, and they're making up excuses for it. They're saying, "Hey, he's breaking that china because he's mad, I guess." You know, like it's just making up guesses and trying to reason and stuff. It's a sophistry, you know. But everybody does it, and they don't realize they're doing it because it's subconscious. So that's why we gotta try and analyze stuff like this and see if we can find how to diffuse it the best. Like people say, just point it out when it's happening, but maybe I think there's got to be better ways to diffuse it. It's something I've been working on for a while. We can make a group project. Anybody interested in it? Feel free to add your thoughts on this. So anyways, we're at what? We started at 9 minutes. He's still just talking about the one point, which is death. Let's see how that goes. I want to get to the end of this death thing and see what his actual, like, how they kind of end the conversation or shift to a different topic, because I'm very interested in that and what attitude and shade that's going to take. I really want to look for these techniques and see if we can, because all these people act the same way, bro. They get called NPCs, etc. It's not that they're NPCs. It's they're letting their shadow drive their car, you know. But that means they're going to act a similar way. Ways we could learn how to diffuse it, how to avoid it, I mean, obviously you could just not interact with these people, but they're going to get this way. They're going to get this way because if you believe in objective truth, you challenge their existence. You challenge their sense of idea, their sense of world, like their sense of reality, their sense of what is real.
Give me one, and your will continue in the process of committing a crime. If you lose your life in the
he just moves on.
So do we have footage before
victims for this? Right?
Here we go. I want to see the end of this. I want to see the end of this.
When you're saying victims, you mean the people who killed him?
See, he's still focused on that one point without making any actual point about it, right? He just keeps repeating it and not really getting and he thinks he's making like a moral point. That's what's funny too. Here is a point to seize on when you're dealing with this. Notice they'll always target the thing that seems like the emotional thing, like overly dramatic, like murder, the death of the kid, the death of the person. Like they'll talk about shootings and they'll talk about how horrific the deaths are. They've never met the people, right? They have no idea who they are. Like when you spot that like that's what the virtue is. That's the virtue signaling. Because if they were like genuinely upset about it, and maybe they are now, like maybe they program themselves to really be upset about it, but if they were like really empathetic, they wouldn't be doing that. They'd be still empathetic with the person they're talking to enough to not keep pointing the spear at them in the conversation and using these loaded concepts and just shoving them in people's faces. Like sometimes you do say stuff about like murder or something, or you do forget in a righteous place kind of thing, and all of us do it, but if you're doing it every time against your friend in your conversation with your friend, you're kind of being a dick, right? You're kind of being an asshole. And think of it, you should apply that all the time. Like, would you want people to treat you like that? Like to keep just throwing a like rape in your face over and over again? And it's like, yeah, but the rape. And you're like, Jesus Christ, man. Can we talk? Can we have a civil conversation? Yeah, but the murder, the fucking murder, they killed him. And you're like, calm the fuck down, man. Let's talk this out. Like that's how people need to talk. Like you would want to be talked to, not like you're in the fucking right all the time. So do look for those points, man, because that's what they're gonna bite onto, and it's what they're gonna hit you with. I don't know exactly how you stop that, how you diffuse it exactly, but it's ridiculous a little bit. It's all performative. It's like, you know, those people that when a famous person dies that they didn't really care about too much, all of a sudden they care a lot. You know, those people, or like, you know, they just go out of their way. Like something happens with a family member, You guys know, okay, so you might have like you have like a family member that is like way overly dramatic. Like they never care when family needs them, really. And then when somebody dies, they're at the funeral, like making a big deal, making a big show of it. That's exactly what this kind of behavior is too. If you have any of that, you're already versed in it. You just got to understand that everybody is like that now, almost. Like not everybody, but a lot of people. The people that you're dealing with that are attacking you for weird shit, or like being all weird like this guy is, that's why.
People who are being attacked.
But were they attacked prior, or did they try to subdue him?
So
do we have footage before?
No,
if it
I don't
begins?
So in New York,
Yeah.
for example, if you go up to someone and threaten them, you've committed a crime, right? You've committed a criminal act of violence against another person by threatening them and going up to their face, right?
And so you're saying at that point you have the ability to proportionally respond with violence.
Yeah, actually, there's a video of this. Myth Informed has it. 7 years ago, this man was called a hero for diffusing violence by putting another man in a chokehold. A man in the subway was getting up in people's faces, and he was threatening them, and another man...
Because I still haven't changed the topic yet. Sorry.
Said that. I'm actually asking questions because these are things that I
Asking questions. Let's hear what his questions are, maybe,
don't
huh?
fully understand about. Is it legal for him to do what he did?
It's still the same thing, isn't it? It's about the death thing.
Yes, that's why he
it is
wasn't charged.
proportionally legal.
It's the same thing he was talking about at the 9-minute mark, right? That's the exact. That's how he started. Okay, 15. Let's go. Oh, 2015 was shoved in a subway. Okay. Are they going to change topic yet? Let's see. Or is it still going to be the same when he talks?
An episode
Something happens and a death.
and
Oh, he's talking about mental health now.
died in what ended up
Did he really just say died after I said he was going to say died?
being the struggle. That's so. Why are the people who
He's still talking about his death.
were subduing him victims? What makes them victims of this?
He assaulted them.
So you have that on camera that he assaulted them first.
According to all the news reports and the police...
Oh
and
my God. We're now at 18 minutes. Let's see. I told you guys, let's try to find the end of this thing. All right. Again, unpause, take a drink. No, don't drink. But if you partake in anything and you want to play a kind of game, like a drinking game, I would not encourage it. No, of course. But let's see if when I unpause, if he says something about dying, like immediately after, like if that's it, then go.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
Okay, not yet. Let's give ahead again. Here we go. Buddy died.
Who was released
I'm
prior
giving
to
you an
that?
example of...
All right. I was on fire earlier, so I'm feeling like, all right, Buddy died.
Protest.
We had it on the
Oh, he's yelling. Oh, he's talking about covering it. Okay, so here, Buddy died. Look, right. He's gonna be like, the guy died.
This is the most
I'm
random
not
example.
talking about you...
No, I guess not. I guess I didn't read that right. But he's still, Buddy
And not
died.
putting the restrictions, like allowing people to have access to healthcare, not as a
What the
requirement
fuck?
based on how much
It
money they have,
actually is
based
a
on their
different
income,
conversation.
but
Oh, they're talking about the mental health of the guy, right? Okay, excuse us here. Next, now Buddy
the
died.
population, Tim. So if you compare ratio of the population, Canadians to America, we don't have mass shootings like you do. No one else.
Oh my God, the mass shooting thing. But where? Okay, so where did it really change? We did lose the change of the conversation. It looks like here.
on the streets ever,
But
right?
I'm not blaming you for not talking about that, Tim, because this is the problem of.
Okay, let's go back a bit more.
Got wrongly arrested, lost his job, was kicked out of his apartment.
Okay, so this is the change. We need to find the end of the.
I've never been hurt. I never was hurt by people who were going through those kind of
Other
episodes.
people have been.
I'm not saying they haven't. I'm not saying this is a good
25
thing.
people were pushed in front of trains.
Okay, so these 25 people were.
So talking about mental health, having mental health episodes. Let's go before that. So right about here, I'm thinking his face. He's like, this guy. Why did I get this guy on my show? Why did I get this guy on my show? Tim. I don't dislike the guy. I'm just kind of. I feel like his news is kind of turning back into the same news Corbett news was. It's just. But not like corrupt necessarily, just kind of the same. Not corrupt. I don't think he's corrupt. Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I have no reason to think so. But just kind of the same, like factory of I don't know how useful it is. Just seems to work people up. But anyways, let's watch this, right?
So you have that on camera that he assaulted them first.
According
Right, okay, here we
to
go.
all the news reports and the
So
police
this is how it
eyewitness
ended.
statements.
Can we see the footage? I want to see. I haven't seen that yet.
I think we can show the choke out.
Okay, so according to the news reports, the witnesses, and the police, he went and threatened violence against people, which is assault. And a
Right, but
crime.
you're saying he specifically threatened violence against the people who subdued.
But
him.
ended where?
Do we have
We're
evidence
at
of that.
I mean,
It's
18
one
minutes.
thing for him to be in a
Can I make it pop up?
and be like, I'm upset.
You're not
Because
winning an argument here.
I'm not trying to win an
You're
argument.
being
I'm
awfully
asking you.
pedantic.
Awfully pedantic.
Yes.
Why would you use pedantic in this form? As in, like, I'm trying to get to the root of this problem.
No,
right?
no. It's absurd to imply that if a woman.
Root of the problem, he just doesn't know. Like, he could Google for a minute, bro. He keeps asking, like, is this self-defense? Look it up. Like, this is something I've been really bothered by too when I get in these conversations, and it's just like, what do you do? I'm with Tim on this. I don't know what to do, but people will go. If you haven't seen this technique, here's how it works. They will they won't get what you mean, and they don't exactly have the means to test if what you're saying is true, so they will just doubt you and basically call you a liar, or like he's doing. They'll doubt it and keep questioning it, like, I'm just trying to find this out. Yeah, but you could learn that really easily, like what the core of self-defense is, right? You could stop, like, Google, get out your phone, in 10 minutes you could understand it. So he's wasted way more time talking about it. He's not asking about it in a way that makes sense. Then asks whatever question he's looking for. So I don't know. You do get this, though. You do get this.
If a guy walks up to a woman and says he's going to harm her, that another man can't protect her.
Right, and so this is why
I think it defends, right? I think it defends. I'm pretty sure you can in some states defend people for, like, so you can try to protect somebody else's safety. I think so.
asking, did he say to the people who subdued him, I'm going to harm you?
Yes,
I'm going to hurt you.
That's immaterial to a self-defense claim in proportionality.
Okay.
If this guy was threatening people, right? And then someone said, I'm going to stop you before you hurt someone, that is legal self-defense acting in the defense of others. That makes those people who are stopping the guy threatening people the victims of a violent individual who is trying to cause harm. Yeah, I just find it fascinating that there's an effort to defend the aggressor in this circumstance.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, no, it's interesting, right? But it is interesting. Yeah, this is a weird situation. Yeah.
So you're suggesting that the guys, even if the guys that were choking out weren't the ones being threatened, that they're still considered a victim because they stepped in to defend other people?
Well, I'm saying outright that if...
Well, he's saying the guy's just fucking aggressive and somebody else goes, hey, fucking stop, and not chokes him out. That the first guy was the actual problem still. And you can make an argument about the proportion of the response, yeah.
If you're on a train and there's a guy, you're on a train, you can't...
Right, the space is so close. I get what he's saying. The space is so close. If somebody's trying something like that, what are you going to do? And how many people could get hurt?
Can't get off that train. You are trapped,
yeah,
right?
I used to live in this area, by the way. I used to live in Flatbush. I used to take these trains every single day. I have seen this. I have seen this and worse. I have seen people...
What does that matter? What does that matter?
In the middle of episodes where I was like, this person could potentially either harm themselves or harm me. It never crossed my mind that I need to choke them out to the point of potential death in order to protect everyone else on the train. That never even entered my mind. So that's why I'm asking you, do you have specific footage of him threatening the very people who subdued and ended up killing him?
But why does that matter?
I don't think there is
Subdued.
footage.
But like, what is it?
All right, well then that's all I want to know.
But what does
All
that
right.
have to do with what I said? That's why
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let's go around again. So
we're like...
I would say
What's the
anybody
correlation
shoving
here?
someone in front of a train at random.
it really well. I thought the conversation
And
ended.
you've done
man.
entire shows on that. And you talked about how people literally die in prison while they're waiting for that shit?
We talked
That's
about
terrible.
Yeah, okay, so we actually talked about one guy who got wrongly arrested, lost his job, was kicked out of his apartment, went to Rikers for 3 months, only to be released, and then told, sorry, there's nothing you can do about it. The city owes him nothing because they considered the prosecution not to be malicious. But this is the problem, man. Like, we talk about stuff like this all the time.
But the example you just gave
Yeah, all the time there's instances like this.
me was not me talking about the systemic problem of people who are poor.
Systemic. It's systemic. You know what I always hate though, when these scumbags on this side like bring up poor people. Think about people that are poor. Most of them never even knew what it was like to grow up poor, anyways. Like, it bothers me so much. I hate it. I hate that they use poor people as this example of just people that are screwed and can't do anything. And it's fucking gross, man. Poor people can do anything too. So not do anything like, like, oh, they can do anything. They're so great. But no, I mean, they can't. Bro, you see people get out of poverty all the time, and people that takes strength. That takes real effort. And when they always do this to poor people, it makes like everybody that did it, it's like stealing away their fucking thunder, right? It's like, oh yeah, guess what? For being poor, All these poor people, they can never do anything. And you're like, well, I did something, and I did something, but you don't really exist to them. You don't exist, and even your life experience went through that. They don't care. Like if you try to bring it up, they'll say you're making this really personal. That you're just talking from your own experience, so you have no real research. I'm using research. Notice I'll just say research and shit, right? Like study numbers that. But that's the easiest way to go away from reality is to use studies. And that sounds weird, right? But to use studies without understanding the methodology in the study, like maybe like so many people just use studies but without understanding how the methodology could be flawed. Like you should find somebody that knows that stuff and talk to them about the studies and challenge your intuitions about them. Like somebody that's really cynical, you should have them pick through the studies that you trust, like, and somebody that really knows how studies work in whatever field. And they'll give you a lot of concerns, and you need to learn how to have those similar concerns. You shouldn't just trust things because you hear it's in a study and it lines up with what you believe. In fact, the opposite is true. If you find something that lines up with what you believe, distrust it. Look for every way it could possibly be wrong. Try and break that thing, and then if it holds up, then keep that information in your head. Because if you don't do that, you're going to become biased and you're going to become detached from reality. Because you can always find enough stuff that's cherry picked to support anything, especially with how corrupt all the studies are now. So the studies are corrupt already. That's the thing. The system of operation that creates the studies is already corrupt. So what you have to do is there's still, some people doing good work. So you have to look at the methodology. You have to, really really try to tear the thing down before you bring it up. Don't just bring it up because you found a study. You're like, oh wow, no, tear it down. Get as much different information, not just studies. Talk to people in those fields. Talk to people on the ground. Go on the ground. Mix all that information in to get a more wide perspective. Talk to more people that have a critical view of it and understand why they have a critical view of it, and see if you agree or disagree. That's a really important one. If you really want to have a full view of your stances, like really understand them, talk to somebody that disagrees. Really find out why they disagree. Don't settle on they're dumb or they're greedy or anything like that. Don't do that. Assume they have the best intentions. Assume they care about their family. Assume they care about their friends. Assume they want to be good to all those people, and then go from there. Really try to understand them. Don't try and beat them at the topic or whatever and prove how right you are. Try to understand their viewpoint, and then they will have some questions that you haven't thought of, and some of those are really important. You need to know those, and you need to think about them and be like, oh, maybe that is a point, and then figure out why they believe it, and then you disagree. Don't disagree before you know that. Now, sometimes people will just give you stuff you've already thought about. Their viewpoints will just be the standard one. Like many of these people have the same views on these things. I don't really know what to do in that situation. People get upset with you if you dismiss them, but they're really dismissible. I don't know.
Or being in Rikers Island before they get to trial. They die before they're not released. You just gave me a story of someone who was released prior to that. I'm giving you an example of a specific show we've actually talked about someone wrongly held and had their life destroyed. Okay. Now, of course, we can go on further and say, yes, people have died. Yes, the system is corrupt. And my point is this. When we talk about stuff like this, like, wow, in October, we talked about 25 people being pushed in front of train cars. You guys just shit all over us and ignore these problems. Then finally, when three guys... ignoring this. I told you, no one's on the other side of this. No,
he's not talking about this one. He's talking about the other issues that you're ignoring all the rest of the time. That's what he's talking about. He doesn't even get it. That's the thing, man. It's so frustrating. These people don't get what you're talking about. They don't take the time to understand your side. They just keep thinking their own way. And they're waiting kind of to talk more than they're listening, and it's really sad. I don't know. Maybe the right answer is just to not talk to them, but it seems like there's got to be some way to get through these situations better, Oh,
it is push people onto train.
Where's your protest? Where's your protest?
Where's my protest?
Yeah, where's your protest?
Where's the protest for Chicago, man? Where's the protest for all the people, getting killed all over the place? Where are those protests? I agree with Tim. I agree. The activists are the most fake The left isn't even real. It's made up, man. The left is not real. I used to think I was like the default setting is left in the world in America now. I grew up thinking I was left just like everybody else. The left is not real. It's not a real thing. It's just a construct to get people to back stupid shit, you know, and politically. To get people on the same page politically. That's all it is. Just a tool. And also to keep people from doing anything useful with their lives that would actually change America, that would actually change the status quo. They want people to try shit like socialism. You know why? Because it doesn't fucking work. And they don't want you coming up with something that does. Like, fuck no, they don't. That's why they're okay with socialism. Because they know it burns out. Because they know it fails. That's why, like, the corporate types are fine with it. Because they're just going to take advantage of it. They're going to siphon off the energy from people being socialist. And they're going to suck it up. And the socialists will fail like they always do. And they know that. That's why they encourage it. That's why the left encourages socialism, is because they know it won't work and they know it's not a true path to the individuals in the country gaining real power that could upset the status quo and the systems in place. They don't want that.
Rikers protest.
We had it on the show, but you don't watch
did a
the
protest.
show.
You did an actual protest. You guys stood up and then walked to the streets, or
we
what?
don't go on the streets ever,
But
right?
I'm not blaming you for not talking about that, Tim, because this is like.
No, but he's like, I'm not blaming you for not talking about it. But he did talk about it. He said, I did talk about it. Like, see what the fuck? Like, he's acting like he made a point already and said, it's fine you didn't talk about it. This is why. But he did talk about it, though.
Like, this is the problem of, like, you are judging someone based on absence, based on your absence of caring about something. Why haven't you talked?
Well, I kind of agree that's kind of hard to do. But I do agree with Tim on this specific issue, though. Like, he's talking in general sense, it's messed up to do. We gotta go ahead, man. This is fucking. This is nothing, right?
That you don't care about that.
That's not what I said.
Not true, though.
That's not what I
That's
said.
the implication.
That's not the implication. This is a semantics argument to try and get out of it, right? It's silly. It's silly. It's silly.
Of what you were saying right now.
My implication is, instead of helping us deal with this when we talk about it, you make up garbage about us and then post nonsense on the internet.
What have I brought up garbage about?
Criminals.
Let's skip
Keep saying
forward.
criminal. I have a problem with criminalizing people who are homeless or people.
Shut up. Already shut up. Already shut up. Or people what? Or people what? What's the second one? How are you gonna go easy on fucking criminals? Huh? People that victimize people, man. People that hurt people. Like, he brought up 4 people again, but now this is where I know that nobody gives a shit. This is where I know. Nobody that grew up 4 will be like, oh yeah, criminals, fine. Give them a free pass. No, bro. Because they fucking hurt 4 people. Do not give them a free pass. If this is a free pass to criminals, come on.
People who are poor or people who are.
Shut the fuck up, people who are poor. You're talking about criminals. Not people who are poor being criminal, like people criminalizing people who are poor. That's not what's going on. It's actual criminals that are hurting other 4 people. Those people should fucking be criminalized. Get rid of them.
Mentally ill, and then suddenly,
I'm
I'm
not saying he's a criminal for being poor. I'm saying he's a criminal because he threatened people with harm, like incitement to.
Right, hurting people. But here's the thing: Tim doesn't currently realize. Serfs doesn't believe in any of that because he's going to believe with the leftist. He's in the cult, right? So the cult's view of this would be that, of course, if the systems are aligned to make it so you have no chance, then while you're operating within the systems, which we all are, you can do anything you want to break free of the systems. In fact, you should break free of the systems. And that's what's required of you, solidarity. We don't tell all of us are free, none of us are free. And so there is no crime. There is no possible crime. But they can't just say that. But that is what they actually think. So what will he say? What argument will he make up? What will he construct? I don't know. Take your bets, I suppose.
Violence is a crime, just like AOC says, right?
I really want to see the start of this video footage. I want to see the moment.
Now, see, he's not going to talk about that. He's not going to talk about his view on it. He's just going to say, "I wish I could see the start." Just try, because all he's doing in his mind is trying to get the guy off. Is trying to, because again, like I said, he thinks none of it is no crime is crime. So he wants to just make it seem, he just wants to get the person off, because to his view, the person couldn't possibly have done anything wrong, because there is nothing wrong you can do in a corrupt system. You can't break out with the master's tools or whatever, you know? Like you Nothing you do in the system is wrong because the system is against you. The system is crushing you down. So if you can do anything. That's what they believe. That's why they encourage crime. But what he's doing right now is just trying to find the proof to dismiss him. He needs to actually see it.
Where he was threatening the very people who tried to take him
but
down.
look, either you accept that the witnesses, the media, and the police say this is what happened, or we can.
It's still this conversation.
Each other.
No. Okay, I'm sorry.
part of the
Oh,
Yeah, no. So
Yeah.
it's true that arms are used to prevent though.
now it's mass shootings.
big
Constitutional right, or I should say, gun ownership is a human right.
Guns.
So this it's like 20% Republican, and if they are
Something I wonder about guns is on this topic is. I think maybe gun ownership, it does help us keep our freedoms. I think that this conservative types might be right on that. The more I think about it, the more I think it's possibly true, especially with how anti-gun everything is now. The more anti-everything is, the more I question it. Because it gets less and less reasonable and less based on facts the more the mob goes along with it. If the mob is going along with something, definitely double question it. It doesn't mean that's wrong. It could be right. But definitely double check it because the mob is not doing it. The mob is not double checking. That's not how mobs work. Like if the mob of culture is going a certain way, double check it because it's more likely to be wrong when it's in mob mode. You know, it's just how it is.
advocate for more resources for mental health.
Oh my God, mental health. Oh my God, that's all they ever say, bro.
derived from
About crime, mental health.
Donald Trump. In fact, I was at a poker table last week,
Oh, he called them like conservative.
and a guy said, and he said, surround.
That's why party lines. Who are the libertarians going to vote for? Not the Libertarian
Libertarians.
Party. Most likely
Like,
they're going to vote for whoever.
When they come on this show and say abolish the police.
One of the two, Republican or
Yeah,
Libertarian.
most likely,
usually.
yes, one of the two. So that's why I say, Tim, for the people who watch you who are Republican leaning, why not frame it that way for them so that they can actually start pushing more money into that?
That's why I'm here.
That's
Basically true, I think, in a lot of ways.
that's what Moonlord does.
So
Dude, you
here's what I think. I think you're in a cult, right?
Okay.
Tim's right, yeah. Bro, yes.
I think the cult is derived from algorithms on social media.
Okay.
So you only surround yourself with this loud noise. We saw a really good example of this with that Sisson guy. Is that his name? Harry? I don't know.
Harry Sisson, yeah.
Sisson. Those two guys went on the Tim Dillon podcast, and he said, please, no, don't clip this. I will lose followers. I can rag on Trump all the time, and like people still watch the show. Seamus and I can have an argument over me being pro-choice and him being pro-life, and people still watch the show. And if I pull up all sides with 3,770 ratings, Tim Pool is a centrist. But you think I'm conservative because you live in a bubble, right?
Because
So
I'm too far left, the Overton window is too far away, is what you're saying?
yes,
It's the Overton window. Jesus Christ. Political shit is the stupidest crap. People talk about breaking out of the matrix. Break out of the left-right matrix already. If you are in that, you are ridiculous. It came from France, from the French Revolution. Look into it. Like, look into the actual history of the thing. And then be like, do I really think this has value? Is something I actually think my personality is part of? Here's another tip. Pull your personality out of everything that is constructed by other people. And that is ideas, that is labels. Pull it out. So take back your personality, man. Do not think of yourself as anything that is a label, that is a word like that. Like, oh, I'm left leaning. I'm right leaning. I'm a introvert. I'm a extrovert. I'm empathetic. No, take all that shit out of your personality. Pull your personality all the way out of that and work on it as just you, because you're just you, and that's all you are. And that's good, man. That's way better than being a centrist, a left-leaning, a conservative, a progressive. All of that stuff is people that do not have personalities, and they do not have the conviction to stand by trying to find who they are on their own and trying to define who they are on their own. And they need all these other terms to find a place, but you don't need them, man. In fact, they make you think in all these biased ways. Just drop them. Just get rid of them.
So like when I go hang out in Washington, D.C.,
Right.
and I go to National Harbor, or I go to Baltimore, Maryland Life. I'm in Baltimore.
I don't know
of all
why
places.
you do that. Washington D.C.
The people who come up to me and are like, hey man, I'm a big fan, are not conservatives. They hate Donald Trump. In fact, I was at a poker table last week, and a guy said, I just hate Donald Trump. Man, I can't stand him. I wish somebody else would run, but I can't vote for Joe Biden. I think you're surrounded. We talk about this quite a bit.
He's right though. This is it. This is what goes on with this guy. This guy is super in those bubbles. People call him like bread tube, right? This guy's way on there.
If all sides has nearly 4,000 people rating me, and the end result is centrist. If I'm actively pro universal healthcare.
Yeah, Tim gets shit all the time from the conservative types. Like, don't come on, let's join the conservative. That's so full of shit. This guy, for sure.
Pro-choice from a Tim Pool's perspective.
I'm pro-choice from a traditional liberal.
Oh God, I keep talking about this fucking politics shit. I'm skipping all this. I hate this crap. Oh, I define being leftist as being this way on this issue, and I define as this. Shut the fuck up, bro.
I'm not here to celebrate that.
I don't understand your argument then.
My argument is that there's a lot of human beings.
13,000 people die from guns, we have a problem, right?
If 13,000 people die from guns, we have a problem. Yes, of course.
If 13,000 late-term abortions happen, is that a problem?
These are completely different things.
Here we go. Here we go. I was looking for this. This is the part of the here we go. There's the meat right there, right on his face. There we go. Those are completely different things. Are they? In a way, sure, but you can't. But completely different. They're not completely different. They're not completely different.
Well, how so?
Okay, so if someone dies by a gun, have they been shot? Were they killed? Did they kill themselves? Was it a suicide?
Right, and that's something. Now I like that. I like how he brings that up. Usually they hide that fact, right? Usually they bring up that a lot of them are suicides, and like Americans kill themselves by guns more than anything else, right? So it's like the gun suicide, and then when you compare the suicides to other countries, it's similar, kinda, right? Like the numbers get way more balanced. It's still not. I don't know the balance, like the numbers afterwards, how far off they are at that point, but they're way closer than people represent it. Because people kill themselves a lot. Everywhere it's getting worse. And specifically in America, it's most likely with a gun, and so that pads the gun numbers. But yeah, they normally don't bring that up, of course. So, But then isn't suicide similar though? No.
Suicide? Was it a gang violence thing? Who knows?
That's a good question.
Can I clarify? I don't want to argue.
Hold on.
But there's also multiples about the thing. Now, see, he thinks he's righteous now. I told you guys this is going to happen, right? This is what happens. You get in righteous mode, and then they're like, hold on, I got to talk about the babies now, or whatever, or the body now. No, not the babies, my bad. Of course, I doesn't give a shit about those.
I need to answer this. In the case of but in the case of late-term abortions, more often than not, when statistics say, and when they are polled, they say the reason that they are giving it is because it's a medical complication that could result in a...
When they are polled, wouldn't they just know that? Like, what do you mean when they are polled? Why is your data coming from polls on this? Shouldn't they know that? Right? Like, wouldn't you just know that? What are you talking about when they're polled? What? What do you mean when they're polled, bro? They should know that, right? Like, you should have actual medical data about that. Oh, why are we doing this? Okay, well, we're doing it because we have to, because the mom's going to die. Okay, we'll definitely do it then. And also, here's the other thing, too. They always present that late-term thing and bring this up and blah, blah, blah. But nobody is, like, saying that if, in that case, you shouldn't be allowed to do it. So it's like, that doesn't really make sense why people argue about it like that. Like, no one is really on that part about it. The late-term abortions are specific ones. I mean, people only have issue with it because they apply legally whether or not it is that. And if it is that, then why not place restrictions making it just that? Like just when it's the life of the mother. That's fine then. Like according to his own view right now, he should be fine with laws restricting late-term abortion to only people that... But he won't, right? He'll be totally for late-term abortion no matter what.
That thing, the mother of the child.
Right. So let's. Can we make the argument then that the use of guns on people are allowed?
The use of guns of people are allowed
to end their lives is allowed.
So that's murder. You're just.
Is it murder? Is suicide? I mean, is murder a suicide? What is it? Murder? Is it murder legally? I don't know. Murder. Okay, let's say it is. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's murder? No, I don't. But it's something. It's suicide, but not because it's not worse and not as bad, but because in ways it's worse, in ways it's not as bad. It depends, right? It's. They shouldn't really. They're not analogs of each other. just because of the person doing it, just because of the person doing it is the same one.
Describing murder.
So if Colorado, for instance, passes a law saying there is no medical requirement for an abortion, is it wrong to kill the baby?
You're trying to compare murdering someone with a gun to a woman having to make a medical decision that could basically preserve her life.
No.
See, it's so ridiculous. He's now just going to assume every possible thing will be a medical decision. That's not what he's asking, bro. He's asking, okay, what if it just is happening, is allowed? Not that it happened, just it's allowed.
Said not a medical reason. That's what I'm saying.
Should she have the ability to have an abortion for any reason? Yes.
What? Why would you say that? Yes. What? Why? Why would you ever say that? At 9 months? What are you talking about? This is why people are distancing from all this. It's because that's an insane idea. Okay, what does abortion really boil down to between the right and the left? When the life starts is what it really boils down to. With the idea of when life starts, they disagree. It's pretty simple too. Most people don't realize that though. It's just about when life starts. Because if you think life starts at conception, or as soon as the semen is in the egg, if you think that's when life starts, then it's murder, and that's what conservative types think. If you think it doesn't start until if you haven't thought about that, or you don't even think about it that way, or you don't even have an idea about it at all, which I think a lot of people just don't think about it. Like pro-abortion people don't even think about it. But a fair amount of people, I think about it and go, well, somewhere in the middle, I think. I'm not totally sure where. And then, you look at the stages of baby development, and you're like, okay, well, personally, for me personally, it's when they seem to be able to dream, I think, which is pretty early on. So I think I'm like okay with like first trimester, and that's it, I think. But that's my personal line on that. And some people say, well, can you have one as a guy? Well, it's not about being a guy or not. It's what your view is. This is all it's about. It's not about women's rights or women's bodies. It's so stupid to act like it is. That purposely making it so we never make any progress talking about this. The divide is, when does life start? So if you want to, if you're a pro-choice person, you need to know that's what the actual argument is. You're not going to win anybody conservative. You're not going to talk to any conservatives. You're not going to get them to compromise on anything without understanding that. And then you guys can have conversations and you can figure things out. But as long as people pretend it's about the woman's choice, then they're being dishonest, first off, because they're either been dishonest, or they're too lazy to try and understand their opponent, try and understand the other person's view. And if that's the case, well, they shouldn't be arguing with people. They should be just shutting up, probably, because they should listen. I don't know what that means for us. Do we stop talking to people like that? Do we just not engage these people? What do? You say, well, then you could create a bubble. No, but the rule should be, if somebody doesn't recognize the truth, and objective truth, doesn't believe in objective truth, because they usually don't. I think you can narrow the rule down to that, yeah. Just don't talk to anybody that doesn't agree with objective truth, I think, is the solution to dealing with these people. I really do. Just ask them, do you believe in objective truth? And if they say, truth is an objective, reality is just a filter or an illusion. It's all, if they believe in competing subjective realities, if they believe in my truth, they will never care about trying to understand your view, because what their worldview is my truth. I have a truth. Everyone else has a truth. They're all equal, or at least there's no way to tell how equal they are, or which one is more valuable than the other. So that means that I need to fight for mine. That's what that mindset will do to you. And then if you have that mindset, why are you going to listen to other people? Why? Now, everybody else, people that believe in objective reality, go, okay, there's reality, and they understand the same argument that the other person's making that makes them believe in subjective reality. That reality is only perceivable to us at a very, sliver of what it is. We only get to see a little bit of reality, and there are things about our mind and things as the observer that are biased. And we understand that. So what do? We go to other people and we get their perspectives and we add that in and we figure out more and get a bigger picture. They don't do that. That's why the people that care about objective truth will try and understand your point. The people that don't never will. They're just going to be trying to make their point. So I think the solution really is, I think that's it, guys. I think that's it. You have to start. If you wanna move through life and avoid all these like drowners, these social drowners like this guy, what you gotta do is just find out. Do you believe in objective truth? That's where we should draw the line. Do you believe in objective truth? Did they say no? Just move past before they pull you down under the water. Okay. Pull down. Let's watch a little bit more to see if it's entertaining, but. I'm really glad with this excursion here into watching this. I think that's the solution. Find out if they believe in relative reality, and if they do, don't talk to them, man. They're going to treat you just like this. They're going to attack you they're going to go after things like this. They're going to make stuff up like this. They're going to talk about, they're not going to make any sense like this.
9 months.
At 9 months, I would say at 9 months, because it only happens, according to the stats, based on complete medical necessity, she has a right to do it.
No,
That's not true.
She should have a right.
Hold on. Colorado legalized abortion in up to 9 months with no medical reason required. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that decision. Yeah.
Why would you agree with that? If the stats say that it's only in those cases, why would you agree with that?
So the baby could.
I mean, I guess, okay, you're saying don't get the bureaucracy involved, but it doesn't seem like that. I mean, that kind of seems like maybe it should be worth being involved. I don't know.
survive on its own, and the mother is legally now allowed to just end its life.
9 months.
She has the right if.
What does right mean? I hate the use of right like that. Does she have the right? Like, here's the thing. No one has a right to hurt someone else. That's why this whole conversation breaks down, and why people like this guy don't get what the other argument is. You can't have a right that hurts someone else. You can't. Now, what he's describing is a right that hurts someone else. In this case, yes, 8-month-old, a full ready baby, bro. Like, it's fully baked, fully cooked baby. That baby is alive. You cannot kill that baby and not be killing a baby. But, like, come on. And he goes, she has the right to kill the baby. No, no one has a right to kill anyone. No one has a right to harm someone else. I'm sorry, there's no such thing. They use the word right, but they really should stop using it. It's fucked up. It presents the whole argument in a way that the other side will never be able to agree, like, talk to you about. It's just like saying, hey, fuck you, I don't want to talk to you about this. Right? Like, that's basically all their views are like that. And they just, I'm morally superior than you.
She wanted to. You're saying so in Colorado, and
It's not a trick question. You're
I know, but I'm asking you because you're the one who brought this up. I don't know what Colorado's specific law says. So if you were saying that in Colorado, women have the ability.
This guy doesn't know anything, bro. Every time he goes, I don't know that. Tell me about it, please. I don't know this thing you're talking about. He doesn't know anything.
At 9 months to have an abortion for any reason. They could just decide that they're
Elective,
bored.
yeah.
Okay, I think they should have the right to do that.
Why say it? Why? Explain that. And again, the right to do that is not a thing. That doesn't exist. There's no world where that exists, because that's not what the question is. If you're taking somebody's life, you can't have a right to take someone's life. So the question is, are you taking someone's life? If you say no, okay, but the point is that you still have to understand that. So the conversation shouldn't be framed this way. It doesn't make any sense.
But the stats show that they're not doing that. But they should have a legal right to do that. Yes, it's their body, it's their choice.
No, it's what the fuck are you talking about?
Of course.
So this is what I disagree on. I think if the baby needs to be removed from the woman, there's no reason to kill it. You know what I mean? Like, you could just C-section and then put it for adoption.
But I'm telling you that doesn't happen.
I'm telling you that doesn't happen. That most likely, just because you have polls that say if he will stand on a pole, which is what he provided, that's not enough to say that doesn't happen. Sorry.
It does.
Or that couldn't happen. Like, either way, it doesn't matter. That's an unrelated thing too. Whether or not it happens doesn't matter. Why are you opening the door to letting it happen? Because they're saying people have a right to kill someone. That's not okay. It's not okay. Oh, well, they're not going to do it. Don't put it on there. Don't put on a free pass to kill someone. You know.
But hold on. Like,
you might be able to bring up anecdotes, but
You might be able to bring up anecdotes. This is all they do. They go anecdotes, stats, because the stats are already rigged.
Stats don't
I didn't.
say that.
But hold
bring up
on.
anecdotes.
Like, why allow it to happen? I just don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. No, Tim's right. Why allow it?
Are you
Well, because-
arguing? Wait,
because
hold
this
on.
is-
Are you arguing you oppose it, and you think it's morally wrong, but you think it should be legal?
I think that women should have the right to decide
That's exactly what he's saying.
and have bodily autonomy over their own body.
Because it doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense. What he's saying makes no sense. That's why. See, he might be so misunderstanding of everything that he really believes that body autonomy thing is what he's really believing, and that's really what he's arguing around. But that's not real. That's fake. That's a fake point, bro. That isn't based on reality. It has never been about female autonomy. It's never been about. That's just a political argument. It's a political spin. That's never what the issue's been about. It never will be what the issue's about. So reasoning from there doesn't make any sense. It's just made up straw man kind of shit. Like, it's not real. There is nobody trying to take they're not. People aren't trying to take it away, the choice away from women. They're trying to say that they think it's murder.
We're not talking about her body. We're talking.
It
about,
is her body.
We're
Of course
talking
it is. At 9 months, even
It is her body. Well, Steven Crowder, a funny thing about one of his things when he was talking to people about it, it's like, well, how many hands does she have then, right? How many feet does she have? How many toes? How many fingers? How many eyes does she have? If it's her body at 9 months, how many eyes does she have? How many toes does she have? Does she have 10 toes or does she have 20 toes, right? And if you can't say she has 20 toes, how can you say it's her body? Because it has toes, right? The baby has toes at that point. The baby has fingers at that point. The baby has arms. The baby has eyes. The baby has those things. If you, like, that's a clear example. It was a pretty good question because I think whatever you want about Steven Crowder, but that is a really insightful question, because what does it mean then, right? Like, if it doesn't have 10 fingers, I mean, it doesn't have 20 fingers, then how are those the woman's fingers? They're not. So is it really her body? Clearly not. Like, obviously not.
if it's still inside her, it's still her body. Even if it's
It doesn't, like, you can just say this, but it doesn't make any sense logically. How many brains does she have? How many brains does she have, bro? How many brains does she have? What do you consider for consciousness? Like, what do you consider for life? What is your definition of life? Because it doesn't make any sense. I hope Tim asks him, what's his definition for life?
viable
But we're
baby, it's
talking
still her
about the
body.
removal of the baby. Yes,
The forceful removal of the baby, or
forceful.
so she chooses
What's
to
that
have
mean?
that. She
The
should have
woman
the right.
says the baby must be removed from my body. Why kill the baby if they're removing it?
I don't think they should do that. I would if
But you think it
they
should be
asked me,
legal?
if they asked me, Lance, should I do this? I would say no. But she
But it's just like a minor inconvenience if they kill a person. Jesus Christ, man. How do you not understand how monstrous this is to say that it's okay? That's a human life, man. What the hell? And this isn't like even debatable, like right or left, whatever. That's a human life, period. That's a human fucking life. You cannot kill a baby just because you want to. No goddamn way. That's insane. That's insane.
should have a right. Yes, of
A right to kill. Right to kill a baby just because it happens to be vulnerable enough that you can kill it. It's not by no choice of its own. Sick. It's disgusting. Holy moly.
course, it's her body still. That doesn't
listen.
stop.
So
And when does it stop? Is the baby still her body when it's outside of her body? Like, that, by that definition, isn't the baby still her body after it flops out onto the ground? It flops around on the ground like a fish. Isn't that still her body then? And then when it grows up and it's a couple of years old, but it can't take care of itself really, and it's just like waddling or walking around and like a penguin, you know, like a goofy little kid, like a drunk person. When it's doing that, is that its own person or no? Because by the whatever weird definition, I feel like if it's not its own person, it's still part of her body.
like the woman is pregnant, the baby is viable and capable of surviving on its own.
Sure.
And she says before it breaches oxygen, kill it. Do you think that should be allowed?
This is again the baby guillotines. This is why I brought that up.
But
The baby guillotines. No, do you not get it? This is the difference. People think it's a life. You don't for who knows why? Why don't you? Does Tim ever ask this, man? I sure hope he asks what a life is.
But what a weird scenario. This doesn't happen. This is not.
It doesn't matter whether it happens or not. You're saying it is okay to happen. Like it's like saying, well, it does. There's nobody raping. There's nobody raping people right immediately after giving birth. But we should. It's still kind of okay if we put a law on the books that it's fine if it does happen. It's fine if it does happen. And you'd be like, what? Yeah, it's not a crime. Huh? It's like, well, it would never happen, of course, but it's fine if we allow it, right? And you're like, what? It's, huh? It doesn't happen, so why are we making a law for it to be okay? Well, I don't know, just for fun. Okay, no, man.
Not the real world.
But it does. And if the argument is that it doesn't happen enough for you to care, that's fine. You're allowed to believe that.
Sure.
What I don't understand is it seems like your position is a rather shocked position where you recognize there is something inherently wrong.
Yeah, Tim's got it.
With taking the life of a baby that could survive on its own, but you also you're also taking the tribal position of women should be allowed to do it anyway.
No. If you were to ask me, Tim,
Is he purely tribal? Does this guy just follow whatever other people say? Is that how he works?
hey, Lance, do you think it's a good idea if this woman who's 9 months pregnant?
No, he's not saying. Don't you get? Doesn't he get? He's making the argument Tim just said. He's going to say, yeah, don't do it. But that's what he's saying.
Pregnant, suddenly she got bored with the pregnancy. She doesn't want to have it anymore, but the baby's viable. Do you think that's a good thing to do? I would be like, no, of course not.
Then why should it be allowed?
Because it's still her right. It's still
There is no argument here.
her body.
But
Bodily
the
You're just saying right body, right body, right body.
autonomy doesn't stop
the
at my
baby-
morality. Tim,
the baby-
What? 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 No, that's a moral belief, though. That doesn't make any sense. That's circular reasoning, bro. You go, okay, body autonomy doesn't stop at my morality, but what is the belief in body autonomy? A moral one. It's a moral belief. That's what it is. You can't use a moral belief to become an iron law that alters your other beliefs. That doesn't make. I mean, wait, no, that you could do that. You could do that. No, but you can't say it. I don't know how to word it because it's just so stupid. He's saying like it's an impossible statement. He's saying you can't allow my morality can't go past body autonomy, but body autonomy is a moral belief. It's a moral belief. It's not like a real one. How is that an objective truth of reality? Body autonomy. He's suggesting it is. How? It's just a moral belief you have in body autonomy. There's no such thing as a universal truth of body autonomy. That's not a thing.
it's not my choice. Right? It's not my but that's not my choice.
Why kill it? Why kill it?
That's her choice, not mine.
Why kill the baby?
Ask her. Ask her.
Okay. So my point is simply this. You don't need to be shocked by it. You're allowed to have that moral position. I think most people in America would prescribe that to be, would ascribe evil.
Yeah, evil. That's fucking evil. Yeah, evil.
To that.
Sure.
But that's
the
idea.
You can ascribe evil to whatever you want. That's up.
No. But what he's telling you is that most people are grossed out by your views. By the normal, like, American view, you are disgusting. Like, ugh. And not even like religious people, just regular people are grossed out by you. And it's so gross that you even realize it yourself, is the case Tim is making. That's why you go, well, if you ask me directly, I would say, no, of course not. You know it's gross, but you're still willing to do it. It means you don't stand for anything, right? Because these decisions don't actually harm you. You're not actually having a baby. It's not your baby or whatever, that's 9 months old that the lady's going to kill. Right? It's not your baby. So you don't have to really care about this. You don't really have any skin in the game, so it's easy to just say anything. That's what's actually happening. You're not actually considering it. You're just saying contradicting beliefs left and right, but it doesn't matter because none of them are checked by reality, so you can just say anything you want.
To you. That's your choice.
The idea that you would say
doesn't mean that she should
the woman
legally be
wants
restricted.
the baby removed, and then in the process, instead of letting the baby live, remove it but kill it. Right? There's no reason to do that. You can give the baby up for adoption. You can drop the baby off on the doorstep of a post office.
I agree with you. I'm not disputing that.
No, he does. You don't agree with him. You say, but they can kill it if they want to. No.
Why legalize, even if it's one? Why legalize? You see, this is the craziest
because
thing.
her autonomy should not be cut off.
That's all he's gonna say. Oh, now let's go forward. He's gonna keep saying autonomy, huh? Let's do it like the death before. In the first topic, it was death. In this one, it's autonomy. He just keeps repeating the same things, right? Body autonomy. That's autonomy, huh?
Allowed to do so. Whether or not I think that's a good idea is irrelevant.
Well, then there's
Still,
the
they
clarification.
should be
I think
allowed.
it should be illegal.
Okay.
I think
So
It
there
should
are
definitely.
limit-
It should definitely be illegal.
It's to how much bodily autonomy women should have.
Oh my God, that's insane. That's insane. That's an insane take. That's an insane. Nobody is talking about body autonomy. It is not about the conversation, man. It doesn't matter if you're like hooked up to a life support machine or something, right? There's complicated questions about somebody else pulling the plug, right? That's a very similar situation to what's happening with a 9-month-old baby. Like, obviously. To not get that and to keep thinking it's about bodily autonomy, this made up, like, ironclad rule of reality. Shut up.
so. Yes, right.
So that's okay. So that's your stance.
The pro-choice argument, because you're pro-abortion, right?
Sure.
Pro-choice traditionally in this country put limits at around like 15 to 16 weeks, meaning if the baby is dependent upon the body of the mother, then it is the body of the mother and she has final say. If the baby is viable, it can be removed.
Yeah, a lot of people make the viable one. For me, it's the brain thing. For me, it's if I think their brain. I know that's kind of fucked up. It's hard to tell, but I think I call it on when they dream, when their brain's developed enough that they dream, because I think that they're aware enough that it feels like that is a horrible thing to take away, right? A life that can dream. It doesn't seem right. So that's where I kind of put the line, which is a very similar line to the viable line, though.
In a
It's earlier. It's earlier than the viable line.
process that ends the pregnancy but doesn't end the life of the baby. That's kind of like the compromise where the baby gets to live and the woman no longer has to be pregnant. There seems to be this amoral argument where, well, but it just kill the baby anyway, which doesn't make any logical sense.
Right, he's totally right. There's no reason to allow that whatsoever. And that's what he's calling the guy on, and the guy has no argument. He just says bodily autonomy. He doesn't even understand the argument, the viewpoint of everybody else. He has no idea what Tim is talking about, everybody else thinks. He just goes, well, anybody can think anything. He doesn't get what they think or why they think it, even though he himself is showing signs of thinking it. He still doesn't know. He still doesn't know. And these are the types of people you're up against. They don't know their own mind this bad, this poorly. They're this out of whack. But they believe it possibly, man. That's what's so fucking wackadoo about all this. They believe this stuff still. They're just not thinking it through like the rest of us. Because they don't care about your viewpoint. They don't add your viewpoint into their viewpoint and trying to learn more. They want their viewpoint to be right. That's how they think.
That's the pro-abortion side. So if you go back to the 90s, if you go back to safe, legal, rare, etc., if you even look at Tulsi Gabbard in 2020, that's where I'm at. Conservatives are pro-life outright. Seamus would argue abortion in any capacity should be banned entirely.
Yeah.
I'm in the traditional Democrat position. But you see, there is a tribal, amoral, illogical position of just let them kill the baby regardless. I don't see any logic there. I don't see how that makes sense morally or ethically or
Yeah, can you explain it? Let's see if the Serfs guy can explain it.
just mathematically.
Right. So you said I'm pro-abortion. What I'm against is forced birth, and I don't think this.
Look at this face too he's making. What I'm against forced birth. Who are you to say any of this, bro? Like what? Okay.
State should be forcing women to give birth against their will, which is what your position.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but it has to happen if the baby's far enough along. They shouldn't have done it. Like it's not forcing. No, they forced themselves. You're ignoring the original thing where they got knocked up. They're forcing themselves to do it when they had the sex that got them pregnant. That's unless like outside of specific types of things that are horrible. That's the case. And so don't act like the state's doing it. No, that you're ignoring the reality and like the context of the birth of the child. You're ignoring the context of the conception of the child to make that argument. That's insane. That's insane. That's why Tim's on you, man. Because the state is not forcing them to do that. They are forcing themselves to do that because they did that.
And your position is as
So
well. And
I-
I'm against that.
what your position is insane, man. You're saying not forcing it. Nobody's forcing them to do it. It's they now have a life, and now the state has to protect that life, and that sucks for them a little bit, kinda, I guess. But that's their own fault. They shouldn't have done it then. They shouldn't have they shouldn't have got pregnant then. That's their own choice. Fuck off with the idea that it's like out of their control. Oh no, how did that happen? No.
I think that's creepy big government shit. I don't think they should be forcing them and turning
Completely
them into
agree.
these viable wombs against their will.
I completely agree.
They're not turned into viable wombs. That's insane. They had the baby. They did the crime. They gotta do the time. Okay, obviously.
I'm against forced birth, just like you.
Cool.
Except my difference is that if the baby's at 8 months and can survive, they can take the baby out as if they would have an abortion, but not kill it in the process.
If it's a viable womb at 8 months, is it viable?
Yes.
He doesn't know anything. This guy don't know anything. This guy don't know anything. Every time he's like, is that a thing? I don't know. I don't know things.
Yes, it is viable at 8 months, dude. There have been babies after 20 weeks.
Bro,
that
your
have
whole
been...
position
8 months are viable. Can you believe this question? He doesn't know how bad he's coming across. He's coming across brain dead.
is that women have a right to kill the baby even if they end the pregnancy, and there's no logic there.
The logic is that I don't think you agree with forced birth at a point.
How?
How at 8 months? At 8 months, Tim Pool thinks forced birth is fucking cool and poggy.
Stop making up stupid
Cool and poggy.
bullshit.
But
dude.
no,
Hold on.
That's what this.
I do run into this too. People always gotta start making stuff up, huh?
No, bro.
I'm sure you guys run into this. They just start making stuff up.
Nonsense statement, because I already said I agree with you. A woman should be able to end her pregnancy.
They're gonna start acting like you're lying. Like he's gonna start acting like what you're saying is not true. What you're saying is not true.
Whenever she wants.
It's actually your actual intent is this, and that, because my worldview forces that to be that way. And so I can't even think of your actual view. I'm just going to shove you into it.
A woman could end her pregnancy whenever she wants. Say it. Tim Pool said a woman can end her pregnancy whenever
Say it. Yeah, I like that. Say it.
she wants.
He laughs like, I don't have to do that. Haha.
I demand you say it.
Yeah, because you're lying, bro. You're not trustworthy. Like, he doesn't get when he's laughing. He doesn't get. The point is not that he's trying to command you. The point is he does not trust you. And he needs you to do this to prove that you're at least somewhat trustworthy. To at least prove that there's some point to this conversation. That you're worth talking to. That you stand for something. That's the point. That's why he's saying say it. Now, of course, there's no way he gets that right.
Because
both
you
ending a pregnancy.
make up something fake. Tim Pool agrees with forced birth is a false statement. You're lying.
I totally get Tim on this. Yeah.
Already said, I believe that women have a right to terminate their pregnancy up to a certain amount of time.
At 8 months is where you draw the line.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you just said that.
No, he didn't say that. He said that they're viable so they can do a C-section and get the baby out of there. That's what he said. I don't know how Serfs misunderstood him this drastically. My point, however, is I disagree with Tim on that. I'm like, bro, if they did it, they got to deal with it. If the baby is passed, I'm sorry, man. It's just my view on that. But anyways, Tim didn't say that. He said 8 months. When the baby's viable, it should be a C-section, and the baby should just be allowed to live instead of killed. That's what he said. And he did what?
If the baby is viable, that she shouldn't have the right to be able to terminate it.
Right. She shouldn't be able to kill the baby. Yes, correct. Because what the fuck? So he's saying that it really is her body. Hold on. I'm just getting this. The reason he does really think this, he's not lying. He does, doesn't he? Because he thinks, oh wow, okay, because he thinks it really is her body. So she is allowed to kill it. So she can kill it. Terminating the pregnancy means killing it, for sure. Because it's part of her body, so it's not killing it to just destroy that piece of her body. Oh my god, even if it would be alive outside of her. That's what he's saying. That's why he's saying, Tim is saying, even though a C-section could get the baby out, he's saying, no, the mom wants to kill it. The mom can choose to kill it. Oh my god.
To kill the baby.
Yes.
I said she can end the pregnancy whenever she wants.
And ending the pregnancy can be giving birth or aborting the baby.
Or a C-section that keeps the baby alive.
She has to be forced to give birth.
Yes, they got to get the baby out without killing the baby. Fucking deranged Oh my God, man.
against her will in a
so-
C-section, but the baby is viable.
C-section, do you know what a C-section is? Do you know what a C-section is? What are you talking about? What do you mean forced to give birth in a C-section? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you think he thinks a C-section is? What do you think he thinks a C-section is? What is he talking about? What is he talking about? What is he talking about? What does he mean? What else would they do? What are you talking about? That's not a forced pregnancy. In what way is that a forced pregnancy? What are you talking about?
When they give it
So
off,
how
right?
do they remove
So
the
hold
baby
on.
at 8
Either way, the
months?
baby comes out of her. You're
Right,
saying that it's more.
So you literally want forced birth. You literally want.
What the fuck is he saying? How is a C-section? He doesn't know what a C-section is. There's no way. There's no way you know what a C-section is and you go, that's forced birth. Unless the concept of birth to him is just making another person, like having that person exist somehow. That's the concept of birth? But I don't think so. I think he's just trying to get him. I think he's trying to get Tim in a gotcha thing.
It's a forced women to give birth
hold
against their
on.
will.
So,
Can I just
you're saying
interject here?
Yeah.
Can I
you're
please just
saying
make-
they should use the tools to rip apart the body and pull that out, whereas I'm saying they should just take
No,
the
I'm
baby
saying
out.
she should have the right to decide what happens to her body. That's it.
Yeah, he thinks the baby is still her body, so she can kill it. That's what he thinks. He's not lying, but he's oh my God, look at his eyes. Look at his dead stare. Look at that just dead inside. Like you can tell there's no gears. There's no gears in there. There's nothing.
Okay, but either way, the child is coming out. You're making this argument about forced birth. Either way, what is in her body is going to be outside of it. The question is it okay to shove forceps into the skull of the small person who's inside of her and then tear them apart limb by limb to get them out? Or should we say, no, that's not an acceptable way of delivering a baby. You shouldn't kill.
And also the abortion is more of a closer to a birth than a C-section is, right? Like in what goes on. I'm not saying
that unborn child.
it goes through the same, you know what I'm saying?
How is that for either way it comes out of her body? Either way the child comes out of her body. It's not as if there's one scenario where the
for-
pregnancy
video.
magically disappears and
let
doesn't leave the
me
body.
add, forced birth is a nonsense
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just made up bullshit.
statement.
But in your scenario, she's being forced to give birth against her will. Like she can't.
No, they're cutting it out of her. They're cutting. What are you talking about? Forced to give birth. What is a C-section? Somebody ask him what a C-section is, please. I don't think he knows.
She's already pregnant, dude.
I know, but
We're not talking about forcing her to do anything.
but then
She's
endorse-
pregnant.
But then endorse that position.
I did.
Stick by it.
I know, I reject there's no such thing as forced birth. They're saying you can't kill that baby.
Let me tell you how fascinating this is.
because she
the
has
left
the baby inside her.
is so
Yes, she does. Have the
fervent
baby inside
about
of her.
legalizing the killing of a baby at 9 months that I can sit here and say I think women should be able to terminate their pregnancy whenever they want. But if the baby is viable, there's no reason to kill it.
She has to be forced to give it. Then
What does he mean? Forced to give it?
she has to be forced to give birth and then give the baby up. Is what you're saying.
What? Killing the baby is better than which is more traumatic? You think killing it or giving it up?
Give birth. Define.
Yes. Okay. So that is forced birth, right?
So
she can't decide to terminate it at
give
8 or 9
birth.
months.
Define give birth.
Yes, thank you.
You just said at 8 months if the baby is viable.
I'd say
Yeah, define give birth.
8 months. Define give birth.
No, he's right. Damn, Tim's on fire on this one. I gotta give it to him. He knows where the problem is. It's in his definition of birth.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying by forced birth. What does birth mean?
You just said when she is at
No, he's asking a very simple question, man.
8 or 9
define it.
months. Okay, so she's at 8 or 9.
I said
You said C-section was forced birth. That's what he's trying to figure out. What the fuck is? How is a C-section a forced birth?
viable.
Okay, so it's viable. The baby's viable. She should have to
No, stop saying she should have to. What does birth mean?
give birth to it in some
Because what are you talking about?
capacity. C-section, whatever.
Define birth, and
Yeah,
I can
please.
answer your question.
Birth. The
It's very important because he doesn't know why this is a question because he doesn't know how the conversation's going wrong.
the removal of a child into the world from a mother's womb.
If the so how do they do that?
The woman pushes the baby out.
So C-section is not birth then, right?
So then, what would you call an abortion at 8 months? Is
An
the
abortion?
woman pushing
Is she pushing the baby out?
the baby out?
No, it's most likely a
No. Has he listened to an abortion before?
medical procedure done by a doctor.
Oh my God, he has no idea what an abortion is like. Oh my god. Bro, you should listen to an abortion or watch an abortion or something. What- oh my god.
And what is that medical procedure?
An abortion.
What is it? How does it take place? How does it go down? Because he described it. The other guy did, right? He described an abortion.
Like, but what is that?
What is an abortion?
Yes.
Yes, what is it logistically? What is it logistically? He doesn't know. He's so dumb. Sorry, don't ever call anybody that. Don't call somebody dumb. My bad. But what? How does he not like what you stick in a Fri-Sat, right? Or what, the metal thing, and you break their fucking skull open? Like Jesus Christ, it's horrid. And he doesn't, and they chop off their arms with this little like saw. Like it's fucking disgusting, man.
It's like what?
How is it done?
They do like a vacuum.
I'm not entirely sure. It's
Yo, you should find out. You should find out.
done in 8 months. I know
trying to-
earlier on it's usually done with a series of tools.
Oh, okay. So he does know.
I don't know how it's
A series of tools.
done in 8 or 9
Okay, so,
Disgusting. Disgusting.
so your moral argument is forced birth. I'm trying
Disgusting, man. To say it's forced birth and he has no idea what an abortion is.
to understand what your position is. If you don't,
A C-section isn't an abortion, though. Isn't forced birth by his definition, though, right? Because he said pushed out by the mother, which I don't think that counts, bro.
know how an abortion is done,
He definitely doesn't know how a C-section works if he thinks it's a series of tools.
are you in favor of forced birth?
Am I in favor of forced? No, I'm against forced birth.
But you think that women should have to expel the baby, right?
It's completely fine for me not to know the medical procedure of how.
No, it is not fine. No, it is not fine. That is most certainly not fine. There's no reason to say it is fine. You should not be talking about shit you don't know about. Duh. Don't say it's fine to be a dumbass. No, it's not. It's not fine to be a dumbass. You're a dumbass, bro. It's not fine. It's not fine to be a dumbass. You haven't known anything. Every topic you're like, what? Is that true? I don't know legal. I don't know. No, you dumbass. That is, you do not, it is not fine to be a dumbass. It is never fine to be a dumbass. You always want to be not a dumbass. You want to learn. If you're a dumbass, which you're clearly a dumbass, learn, man, learn.
Abortion is done to stand up for the rights of a woman's body.
No, you do. You do. Yeah, you should fucking watch that.
I don't need to know how people
Oh, most certainly you do. Most certainly you need to know what the fuck you're talking about.
perform abortions directly. I'm not going to lie here. I'm not going to pretend
removing
that I know.
Yeah, but you do need to know that. It's ridiculous you don't.
a baby from a woman's body is birth.
Oh, so you're saying it doesn't count?
No,
It's
I'm
birth
trying to.
of a different nature.
I don't think.
Well, how is a C-section birth if abortion isn't? Is what he's saying. How can your definition work that way?
think you have a definition, and I'm trying to understand what you mean by forced birth. But if you can't define the removal of the baby in a different way, I don't know what you're saying.
birth, Tim. Like the
He acts like he's dumb. But he doesn't get. Maybe he just really doesn't know what a C-section is, and he thinks it somehow is just a regular pregnancy. I don't get what he's saying.
birth of a child.
So is a C-section a birth?
Right. Good question.
Sure. Yeah.
No, how? Sure, how?
It is a form of extracting a living child that is viable.
Extracting, not being pushed out.
To live in the real world.
That's how you define birth: extracting a living child
Extracting, yeah, now it's extracting.
to live in the real world.
No, I would define birth as someone giving birth.
Yeah, but he just, what? Then how is that a birth? He's asking you how it's a birth. You give this definition. He's like, well, okay, so that's birth. No, birth is something else entirely, and he still doesn't get it.
Pushing
Because this is how people like this work. They're not logicking things out about like the greater ideas or what they mean or how they logically connect. They're just going off, like they're just reacting to what you're saying, and they're just spinning out whatever. And that's why it doesn't connect to the other ideas. It's because it's just spinning out the moment you ask it.
baby out of their body.
So right. So I don't think women should be forced to do that, right?
You don't think women should
So a C-section isn't doing it.
be forced to push babies out of their body?
But the baby is in their body, so it's got to come out somehow.
Right. This is the thing that doesn't make any sense. C-section is the only way to do it, and it's not a birth.
So you're going to take it out with a C-section?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm trying to figure out what you mean by this.
So that would be forced birth.
So
she's
what-
forced to give and make a viable child, live in the real world.
I mean-
His definition of birth is the child still existing from her. Oh my God. Okay. But why is that his definition? And so forced So you are allowed to kill it because it's her body still there.
Yeah,
Right,
but
so
when you're
right, so
pregnant,
that-
the baby's
right,
gonna
yeah.
come out of you
Yeah.
at some point.
That's the
Either
point.
we rip
No
it
matter
apart
what
or you have
Right, he doesn't think the baby exists yet. It's just the mom, basically. It doesn't. Tim was right to narrow in on this, but all it's come clear is that he really just thinks the mom is the baby still. So the mom has 2 brains. The mom has 10 fingers. It logically makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, I wonder if Tim will narrow
gives
down
the
on
baby
that.
is coming out of the woman, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I
So
agree.
there's no being in favor of that or not. It happens. Period.
Yes.
Okay, so
Even if it's an abortion.
what's your point?
What's my point?
Am I in favor of a natural process by which a woman has to have a baby removed from her no matter what anyone says or does?
Your point is that at 8 or 9 months, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Tim.
You are wrong. Yes, I'll stop you right there because I know because
Fine.
because when you keep saying 8 or 9 months, that's not what I said over and
Right, he just keeps starting on bullshit to begin with.
over and over again.
Viability is after 6 months.
Viability is
And that means that there's
So as
more
soon-
than a
as soon-
50%
but
chance of
you're also
survival.
wrong. It's
There have been
not
babies
6
at, like,
months.
So
So
as
as
soon as,
soon
as the baby
It's
is
not 6 months.
So as soon as the baby is
24 weeks.
viable, Tim, as soon as the baby is viable, then it's okay for the woman, even if she doesn't want to have it anymore for whatever reason.
See, will want to have it anymore. Doesn't want that baby to exist. He doesn't think of the baby as having any right to exist because it's just the body of the woman. That's his view. How do you get there? I don't know. It's really stupid, but that's his view. Let's just skip
No, because
around
I-
because this is
Just
too dumb
think
now.
women die, they survive, right?
Which
Should I don't see.
That was a Republican position, wasn't it?
a lot of things.
See
Like,
what
should
it's-
she be allowed to do meth?
Yeah.
I think if someone is doing meth while they're pregnant, that it is completely acceptable for something like I don't know what the name of the service is in the United States.
Child
For-
services?
I guess
Child
DCFS
services?
would be.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's her.
What the fuck? That's bodily and that's her body. There's nobody should be allowed, according to him 2 minutes ago, his own view. See, I told you he doesn't really believe in any of this. He just like reasons it out from. He goes, okay, I know I believe in bodily autonomy. That's what they say. That's what they say. That's what the tribe says. Okay, I got that. Is this what happens when you just have like sorry, you have the like the member of your tribe that just kind of like stumbles around and everybody's helping him up, and then he goes to represent your tribe, and this is what happens, and all your secrets get exposed and stumbled out.
Yeah, it's her body.
If she wants to do meth, what's the big deal?
Yeah, you can't touch her.
The big deal is that she's intentionally trying to kill a child.
No, what? The fuck are you talking about? How does this is this compatible with your earlier view? It makes no sense. That's her body. She can do whatever she wants. It would be intentionally killing a child. What?
Hold on there a minute.
Yeah, and I see her.
Tim's got him.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Right. It's gibberish.
It's her body.
It's her
if
body.
She wants to do meth. What's the problem?
Well, first off, doing meth is illegal. Period. Doesn't matter if you're doing it with.
Illegal. Nobody's talking about legality. Make it Adderall. Make it whatever other fucking drug that's legal. Make it marijuana.
Child
Whatever.
Without a
Not
child.
in
So-
Oregon.
Methyl and MDMA. It's a type
Maybe
of
it's
meth.
alcohol.
Wait,
then.
sorry. What?
Not crystal meth.
Drunk.
Crystal meth
There's
is legal in
different kinds
Oregon?
of-
No, it's not.
crystal.
Hold on a second. Did I?
MDMA is a kind of meth. Methyl and methamphetamine is ecstasy. That's a kind of meth. There's also crystal meth, which is not legal. MDMA is legal in some places for therapy sessions. I don't know if it's legal for
Yes,
very
it is.
pregnant women.
Okay, it is.
Is it for pregnant women? I
Oregon
don't know.
decriminalized possession in
Oh,
2021.
you were right.
Damn. So he slams them too. So even in the context, the mom can have them.
I don't know if that's-
You can't even make the legality
Okay, dude.
argument.
So like,
Decriminalizing possession is different than legalizing crystal meth. You know,
Yes, everyone knows the difference. It means they don't arrest them. Oh my god.
those two things are completely different, right?
Why say you know those things are completely different? Of course he knows. But you're saying because of legality she shouldn't have it. But what are you going to do? Why would the social worker help if it's decriminalized? Like his whole argument was the social worker should step in. If it's decriminalized, no, they shouldn't, right?
What's the question of whether you can-
It's just her using their body. It's just their body.
wait,
press charges.
hold on.
Yeah.
What?
So when you decriminalize a small amount of drugs, that means if you're caught with that,
Everybody knows what this means. Like here's the biggest red flag of these types. They'll explain this basic stuff like you don't know it, and they'll act like you don't know it, and they actually probably really believe you don't. They really think they're telling you something, but they're not. They can't read you well enough to know you already know, and you're like, oh my god, okay, again, one of these again.
drugs by a cop, that means if you're
We
arrested,
know, bro. Everybody knows what this means.
you cannot be charged for 1 gram, 2 grams, whatever
that's
that
what
is.
legalizing is.
No, this is decriminalization, not
We know he knows the difference, but it's
legalization. We never said
There's no such thing
legalization.
Legalization is a semantic term. It doesn't mean anything.
Yes,
Right.
it means
Either a
that
substance is no longer
there's no
right. There is no real action that would be.
longer a prohibition on that product.
Okay, so if a woman does meth, she's legally allowed to have it, right?
Is she legally allowed to do it or possess it?
I mean, what's the difference?
Well, two very different things. You can be legally allowed to possess drugs and not be legally allowed to take drugs, for example.
Alcohol.
So she does alcohol.
Can a woman chug?
Yeah, just switch it because this guy's being pedantic, just like Tim accused him of earlier. None of this is real anymore. Just do
With
it.
vodka while pregnant?
Yeah, she can legally.
But do you think she has a right to do so?
I think she has a right to do. Yes, she has a right to do it. I don't agree with
What?
her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
What the fuck? No, she does not have a right.
and heroin?
It's illegal.
I actually don't think heroin.
It's really just the legality. It doesn't have any moral scruples, bro. Like,
I think heroin actually was legalized. I think it's controlled, but I think that one specifically was oxycodone and other drugs. So
okay, let's find his next
She
ridiculous
has a right
thing,
to
I
do
think.
it, whether or not I agree with her. Called
Oh my God.
misleading entry point to try and make abortion illegal.
Where did you read this?
okay, well,
Let's just
So,
skip around. This
for
man's a...
example.
like actually shorting someone's check and
So,
like,
so the largest form of theft in America right now is wage theft. If you
Oh my God. It's just semantics. And oh, this study says this.
I had it happen to me. I sued. I went to the national. I'm like, hey, they'll give us went to a couple.
But it's like saying, oh, but poor people aren't getting fucking robbed. Like, because that is the number one, we should ignore all the people dealing with like regular theft and actually getting robbed and things. Like, what a ivory tower view to go, oh, look at this piece of paper here. All those people getting robbed and stuff. Well, fuck them. The real one is this other one, this little white collar one. It's like, what? Okay.
Employees, Air Corps,
In the stats on workplaces, that's
push 3 cases of beer to distributors, and then the
so it's been beautiful to see. I love it. Oh, they donate so much to right-wing Republicans who push
Agreed.
anti-LGBTQ laws. So Anheuser-Busch getting taken down. Oh man, I'm so here for it. Keep
me
going.
too, absolutely. Yeah, they think that.
He's turning on it because he's like, well, they're actually, I actually cancel them anyways.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you pull up. I've noticed you want to pull up stats and figures and stuff like that.
Of course.
Why is it that you push propaganda when it comes to trans people?
Like-
Here we go. Now here we go. Now we're an hour and a half in or something, and now we're at the meat. Now we're at some meat. Now we're at some bones. Now he's gonna say, "This is what happens, right?" People act like, don't you dare talk about any of this. Don't you dare ask any questions. Don't you dare. Mm-hmm. What's the deal?
What? That is so far beyond the pale.
Like what?
Okay, let's start with gender affirming care.
Gender affirming care. Don't let anybody say that to you, because that is baloney. Gender affirming care. Hold the fuck on. Gender affirming care. Gender affirming care, they say. Jesus Christ, that's monstrous to even say that's what it is. They have, what was their name? Here, we'll watch it for another minute. But if anybody tells you gender affirming care, that's a red flag to begin with. Why are they saying that? Because what is it actually? Do you really know what it is? Do you really know what it is? Do you actually know what that means? If you just say gender affirming care, what does that mean? Okay? Have a list in your head, and we'll get back to it.
Gender affirming care, you're very, very against. I've heard you call it the mutilized.
Mm-hmm. The what?
Like
I don't
mutilation.
I don't call it mutilation. I've never said that.
That's what you say on your.
Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. He's talking about surgeries. He's talking about surgeries. Usually gender affirming care, they only mean puberty blockers and hormones, which are bad enough. They're experimental enough. He's talking about surgeries on children. Because he says gender affirming care, so that means he's okay with gender affirming care on children, right?
I do.
No,
I
I don't.
don't know if he does. I call
No,
it
I
mutilating
don't.
children.
Oops, what did he just say?
Stuff like that.
Of course.
Why is it that you push propaganda when it comes to trans people?
Like what?
Look how upset he is. Like he has a right to talk about this. Like he has a right to fucking call him out. Who the fuck are you to make up this nonsense?
That is so far beyond the pale.
Like what?
Okay, let's start with gender affirming care.
But it tells us a lot about what he thinks, right? He thinks those surgeries are okay for children.
Gender affirming care, you're very, very against. I've heard you call it
What is
mutilation.
I don't call it mutilation. I've never.
Yeah, he doesn't even know that he doesn't. He doesn't even say
That's
that.
what you say
He
on your
didn't
show.
say
I
that.
do.
No, I
I
don't.
don't know if he does. I call
No,
it
I
mutilating
don't.
children.
I call it child sex change.
When you were talking about Dwayne Wade moving his family,
Someone in the crowd said, "Why are you mutilating your son?" That was a quote from someone else. I didn't say that. Call it.
but then you made
and
it-
I've explicitly said I don't take the right agitator approach of calling it mutilation because that's not effective in having a conversation. I will plainly call it a child sex change as what it is. I'm not going to call it gender affirming or mutilation because I don't
Right,
think those
definitely don't call it gender affirming. That's fake.
things accurately explain what it is.
okay, so when it comes to gender affirming care,
Gender affirming care. Here we go. He's the expert. They're always the expert on this, right? But they don't actually know anything, right? They haven't looked into any actual studies or anything, like about like when they have people are on artificial hormones and things like that as adults, and all the risks associated there. They don't put those over and think, oh, these are still going to happen to the kids. They go, no, forget about these. They don't talk about when you stop a kid's puberty at Tanner stage 2, you stop, which is like right away where they tell you to do it. If you stop a kid's puberty, if it's every single one, that what's her name? What was her? Marcy Bauer. Every single kid that she had, every single boy to girl that she had done never experienced an orgasm in their life ever, because of the drugs, because of the puberty block, because they never had testosterone, and they also don't develop like a big enough, like enough of a penis for it to turn into, to recraft things later on. It's really horrid. Like it's messed up to just call this gender affirming care, knowing that like it's really horrid that they do that.
0 to about
Are
10.
you talking about child sex change?
No, I'm talking about gender affirming care.
But
0 to
What are you talking about?
about 10 years
You got to
old.
define
The
it.
answer is
Yeah, you gotta tell us what the fuck you're talking about. We're gonna use that phrase.
yes.
You got to define it, okay? Because if you're talking about something different, tell
Okay.
us what you're talking about.
All right, so if someone is trans and they're young, and until they're about 10 years old before they go through puberty, gender affirming care would be in the form of you using different pronouns, preferred pronouns, and allowing them to dress differently.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Do you have a problem with that? Does anyone here?
Yes, I do.
See that they do that on purpose to blur everything. They say gender affirming care to mean that, but then they also mean the hormones. They also mean the puberty blockers because they say they're temporary and totally safe. They just lie about that.
I don't.
Okay, so both of you don't.
Right.
Okay, so do you
And you could say, oh, study X says this. No, actually read about it, man. Like, if you're saying study X says something, you haven't read about the drugs, or you would know that. You would look into Marcy Bauer, you would look into any of that stuff, and you would know that the people saying it's experimental use are not lying. In fact, the experts in the field say it's experimental. They know it's experimental. You're the uneducated one if you're saying it's not experimental. The people in the field, the experts, the ones you would go to for experts, the ones making the same recommendations you believe about it, they say it's experimental. You just aren't educated enough on the topic if you don't know that.
accept that there is no surgery being performed on children at that age?
There are some on like 16-year-olds. Oh, at that age?
No, I'm talking about gender affirming care.
But
0 to about 10 years
You got to
old.
define
the
it. You
answer
gotta
Oh,
is
define it.
0 to
You got-
10 years old. Oh, 0 to 10 years old. Oh, I didn't hear him say that. Oh my God, he is for puberty blockers and all that then.
Got to define it, okay? Because if you're talking about something different, tell
Okay.
us what you're talking about.
All right, so if
0 to 10 years old? What the fuck are you talking about?
someone is trans and they are young, and until they're about 10 years old before they go
10 years old.
through puberty, gender affirming care
Oh my God. So he does believe in the other things.
would be in the form of you using different
I didn't realize how
pronouns,
young he
preferred
meant.
pronouns, and allowing them to dress differently.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Do you have a problem with that? Does anyone here?
Yes, I do.
I don't.
I don't.
Okay, so both of you don't.
Right.
Okay, so do you accept that there is no surgery being performed on children at
0 to 10, bro. 0 to 10.
that age? From
At 0 to 10? Yeah, that's not the problem. The problem's a little bit after 10. Thanks.
0 to about 10, there's no hormone blockers, there's no puberty blockers.
There is hormone blockers. I don't think surgery is happening on
Okay,
kids
so hormone-
under 12.
So hormone blockers aren't given to children until they go through puberty.
Tanner stage 2 is when they're recommended to do it. Now, I don't know the earliest that can possibly happen, though.
That's not true. We actually pulled this up with Destiny. He actually called me out. I was wrong about a stat.
Okay.
What we found was 47,000 cross-sex hormones. I think it was something like 17,000 puberty blockers and like 2,000 double mastectomies for girls after the age of 13 or whatever. But
So that doesn't apply to anything I just said.
puberty blockers were preteen. Puberty blockers.
Yes, puberty blockers
They
are
have
given
to
someone.
because they have to give them the puberty blockers before
Right, it's Tanner stage 2 is what the guideline is. Tanner stage 2.
puberty starts.
Yes, of course.
Right.
So you, okay. So
Puberty is broken into these Tanner stages, they call them. Tanner stage 2 is like the one they recommend to do. It's like the first very start one.
you're just reaffirming what I just said. From 0 to 10 till you're about to go through puberty. Gender affirming care only comes in the form of using different pronouns, using different names, allowing them to dress differently, and
Yeah, but puberty is the fucked up part, man.
that's it. And you don't have a problem with that.
Wait, Lupron
You can't pause puberty, man. That's not a real thing.
too?
Okay, so we'll get to Lupron, but up to that point, you don't have a problem with any of this yet, right?
I'm saying,
and you agree that there is no surgery being performed on children at that age.
Why is this being talked about? Like, if it's a different age, what does it matter? It's 12, it's 13. What does it matter? Like, there's not 10? Like, what are you talking about? What is this point here?
0 to 10.
Let me just start from the beginning so I can make sure I'm getting what you're saying right.
Yeah.
I don't care if parents call their kids names or whatever. I care about medical or surgical intervention.
Okay, so that doesn't happen until about the age of about 16. That's the average age for.
But
Average age, also.
you're wrong. Okay, like
He's definitely wrong. They'd stop at Tanner stage 2.
and
That's like 12, 13 or something.
look, we had Destiny on the show. We went into great detail about it. There are girls who are 13 who are getting this done.
Yeah.
And there was a study. Actually, it was Canadian, I believe. 12 to 17.
Yeah.
They had several hundred surgeries performed.
Okay, so again,
I'll try
I
to pull it
said
for
the
you.
average age.
And that's
but if you
surgeries.
want
That's surgeries. That's surgeries. That's not even the hormone blockers. I mean, the puberty blockers. That's
to
surgeries.
say that there are people who get this at 12, that could be the case.
He just has no fucking idea what he's talking about. Like, it's insane. And he's still going like, well, yeah, okay, maybe there are those. I don't know. But anyway, they're not like they really exist. They're not big enough for me to care, for my point.
Who would have it? I think
Let's start with puberty blockers, Tim. Lupron. You both have a big problem with Lupron?
I don't know a lot about it, but I consider it a medical treatment.
Okay.
Yeah, we shouldn't be giving Lupron to kids.
So you don't think you should give Lupron to kids?
No.
Why don't you want Lupron being given to trans kids?
Because it's a puberty blocker that inhibits the natural function and development of their body. And more importantly, I think my view is
It clearly does. There's issues with the bones too. There's all kinds of issues. It's a horrible idea. It's not like it's going to screw them up. The thing most people don't even realize, they're too like. The girls have testosterone too. Completely block a little boy becoming a girl, and he block all his testosterone. He does not have the normal testosterone a girl has.
built upon what we've seen out of Europe already, right? So earlier on, maybe a few years ago, I was more agnostic on the issue until Sweden, Denmark, Finland abandoned this, and the Tavistock Center got shut down. And the data they released said this actually caused more harm than good. And then I was like, well, okay, hey, how about that? And for some reason, in the United States, they're still hell bent on moving forward with what we can already see from better countries with better healthcare systems saying no to this, right?
Okay, so I can address those individually because I have the explanation as to why that happened.
He has a counter argument for each thing.
When it comes to Lupron, 0 to 10 is about the age where gender affirming care only comes in the form of different
We know you keep fucking saying this, so what is the point here?
names, pronouns, stuff like that. We can all agree that's completely fine.
We
The reason-
can't. I mean, I
sorry,
disagree.
so-
Yeah, no,
okay,
Right, just shut up about that. It has nothing to do with anything.
I disagree. You
But
three can agree,
fine,
but I
fine,
don't.
Fine, okay, fine. But it's their show, so I just want to concentrate on them for one second.
My position is more just like, I don't know, man, like social
Right, just get to a point also. That doesn't mean anything.
therapy stuff. They say that after puberty, desistance rates are between 65 and like 92%.
Okay, so that's completely false.
They just say those studies are false for different reasons. I'll
get to that. We have to do this.
Come on, bro.
We have to do this piece by piece.
Trust
first,
me,
okay?
bro.
Oh, let's get through Lupron
Hey,
first.
I just proved you wrong. Studies show
recorded.
10 follow-up studies found resistance
Yeah, he's going to show it. Of course it is.
of 61 to 98%.
Yeah. Can you click on?
Well, they just lie about that. They just
the
lie
Wikipedia
about it.
article?
Oh, I know
Transition
something
topic.
much.
Oh, you're missing the mic. Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Missing the mic, buddy.
What are the studies? Where are we talking about? I would like to know if you are taking these studies specific. Well, because I have each.
Yeah, because he has actual little, haha, this is debunked because of this nonsense to pretend like is real.
One of them written down here, and I'm quite curious. Is the Drummond study one of them? Is the Wallen study? Is Stensma, the Swedish study, a part of this?
Take a second. What is the name of the study? Swedish study? Does he even... He's acting like he knows all these studies, and the way he's listing them off is nonsensical. Like, it's not helpful. It does say reviewed a study by Ristori and Stensma 28. Evidence from the 10 available. It does say that down there, but it's hard to understand what the fuck he's saying.
The 2011 study?
Probably, I don't know.
Well, we should know. This is incredibly important for what we're talking about.
It's not. This is
He said he should know. He doesn't know the names of them.
2018. This is Gender Dysphoria in Adolescents, Current Perspective.
He should know. Like, if he knows the studies, he'll know which one that is, right? He'll know what one that is.
Is in the National Library of Medicine.
Okay, scroll down to the conclusion of this one. Just
Want to get the mic again?
Oh, sorry.
You can carry it around with you.
Yeah.
Move it. I gotta get used to this.
Yeah, dog.
I know. Scroll down to the conclusion of the study.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Just follow my orders,
at least skim
because
some of the what the numbers and reference are to, like the reference.
While you're skimming,
right, because there's a meta-analysis probably, and it's worth looking at the actual details, not just the conclusion. The conclusion, he doesn't even look at the methods, bro. Why would you jump to the conclusion?
when I think of a little kid
like
being like a
outcomes,
little boy being
psychiatric
like,
disorders.
I'm a girl. The parent, I would hope that the parent would be like, you can be, you can pretend to be whatever you want. You can be an actor. You can play a girl. But I get afraid when a mom's like, he said he's a girl. That means he's trans.
Right. So for this, it's not a process. It doesn't exist in which someone can say, hey, I'm a boy, I'm a girl. And then they go into a doctor's office and
It doesn't exist. Whenever people start telling you things don't exist, that's the first step of DARVO, okay? Denial, attack, reverse victim and offender. That's DARVO. DARVO, again, if you want to look it up, there's all kinds of like sheets you can print up and things you can hand to people. DARVO is a classic technique. When they start out with that kind of denial, like no, that is not a true thing. There is no such thing as that. It doesn't make any sense. And a regular person would not be saying that. They're saying that because they need to dismiss it. So they need to totally deny the whole thing exists, and then they need to be like everything you're saying is not true. Is not true. And then they're going to look for a way to attack you or attack the reason you're looking into it. Like, that's weird that you're looking into gender stuff. What are you, obsessed with their gender? What are you, some kind of gender weirdo? But then also you're saying that, but then you're also saying, yeah, but it's fine. Anybody who's a gender weirdo is fine.
like, well, take some Lupron. It's you do years and years of consultation between a doctor and.
That's not true. He's making stuff up again. That used to be the case. That's no longer the case. Just making shit up. Like, he knows that used to be the case. Or thinks he can still say it. It's not the case.
And between like a therapist and between the patient itself.
I'm just going to read this.
Sure, of course.
Adolescence is a crucial time for identity and psychosexual development in young people with gender identity concerns. The outcomes of GDC have been discussed in terms of its persistence and desistance. For most children with GDC, whether GD will persist or desist will probably be determined between the ages of 10 and 13 years, although some may need more time. Evidence from the 10 available prospective follow-up studies from childhood to adolescence, reviewed in the study by Ristori and Steensma, indicate that for around
it is Steensma. I was right. I asked if this was Steensma.
I called that out, Jen. I caught that. But he's so excited now to make a stupid point. And again, this isn't Steensma. He said the Steensma was another study which they're also referencing.
Okay, I can answer this
80% of children who
I can answer this one. Jesus Christ.
meet the criteria for GDC.
Right.
But you said 2011.
Oh, so there's multiple Steensma studies. They've actually built upon each other. And the problem with the Steensma study, unfortunately, is that they actually categorized people who were not trans in that study. They didn't compare people who were trans to people who were trans and then detransitioned. They compared
Wait, what?
people in the general population.
What's your source? What's your source for that?
The actual author of the study has come out since and said that
What can I pull up to confirm that?
Okay.
Like, because look, I pulled up a study that said a thing. You've made a counterclaim.
Right.
I will
Show
pull it up.
evidence.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just show evidence.
Because I don't know who Steensma is.
Okay, so, Steensma, and the problem, I'll say one more thing because I had this written down. 45.3% of the people did not reapply for treatment. They counted that as people who were detransitioning when they weren't, in fact, doing that.
Well, you don't know what they were doing. You can't see. How can he say what they weren't, in fact, doing that? Yes, it's saying if they're not coming back for treatment, they're assuming they're probably done. Right? Because they need the follow-up treatment to finish the transition. Like, I get, well, you can't say definitively they weren't doing that. Like, if you want to say, okay, well, it's wrong for them to assume it, but then you assume the other way. Like, that's how it always works, Sam.
Wait, so can I ask you something?
Yeah, no, that's insane point you just threw out there. That's fucking insane.
question.
Okay, so
on.
he asked
Wait.
for the source. Let's do things in order.
I'm going to respond to what you just said.
Yeah, you shouldn't have just said that. That's fucking ridiculous. You shouldn't have just said, "Oh, I need to finish this." You don't have the right to just read off a thing, then move on to something else. No, yeah, I get it's convenient for you, but it's so narcissistic. No, you shouldn't have read that yet if you weren't ready to deal with that yet. You don't get to do that, man. That's not how our conversations work. You don't go, here's one detail, oh, switch over. No, you know that's going to stick with them, and even if you're proven wrong later, they might remember that part. That's why you did that.
I need to respond to what you
That's dishonest, yeah.
Last
Yeah,
point
yeah.
is kind of important to respond.
Yeah, we need to fucking stop you right now and get you on that.
We're literally talking about desistance.
Right.
If they're including people who desisted, you'd have to get the number of those who desisted.
They included people who did not reapply for treatment.
Yeah, but how is that not right? That's not necessarily wrong though. Like some percentage of that is desisters. Has to be, because they're not going back for treatment.
They counted that as someone who was desisting.
Well, they have to.
That's just someone who didn't show up again.
That's
Right, but how are they still getting treatment how are they still transitioned if they haven't shown up?
You do
that's
not
literal desistance.
No, it's
I don't see an
not.
issue
It's
with
not.
that.
That's
no,
literal
no,
desistance.
no, what's
But they're not getting treatment anymore. How are they still transitioned?
whatsoever, Tim. That is someone who has decided they just don't want to go talk to that doctor or experience things with that doctor. They could have gone off to a different doctor.
Right, but to assume all of them went off to a different doctor instead is insane. It's clearly just ideological nonsense. It's like of the gaps, that's your gap is. So I guess they're just being trans somewhere else. It doesn't make any sense.
They could have done something else, but that is not
It would be a very small percentage that did that.
someone who has verifiably said I was trans.
Right, it's not verifiable, but with that understanding and say, with that understanding, this 40 whatever percent is people that didn't come back. Okay, but most normal people will go, okay, well that means most of them desisted.
I'm no
Because it does, most of them did.
longer trans.
So,
That's just people who did
let me
not
pull
show
up
up.
your thing.
Okay,
We
so go to
understand.
transadvocate.com/
I'm not going to. I need a study or something. Not an,
Transactivist.com. No, I think I know that website. Transactivist.com. Oh my god. I know a different one that was or maybe I do. I don't know. Transactivist. Oh, it's transgender map. Transactivist.com. Oh my god. That's what I get. I get the same kind of. Oh, that's not even a thing. I mean, he must have said it wrong or something. I that's what you get when you debate socialists too. They like bring up some random dude's website that's a socialist.
advocacy website.
Okay,
I pulled
Yeah, no, get the real source. Get a real source, not some bullshit.
up a scientific study for you.
Right, he pulled out a real thing. Proof.
I'm not
Tim,
pulling up a nonprofit
good job.
advocacy
So
group.
this is an interview
Good job.
with the person who did the study in this article.
Look at his smile on his face. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine thinking this looks good? Can you imagine thinking this ever? If you were right, can you imagine thinking this looks good? It looks horrible. It looks horrible. The cockiness, the attitude, it's gross.
I have pulled up a scientific study for you.
And
you
the
have
person who
challenged it.
did, and I'm challenging you with the person who did the fucking study. And
But
then
you're
they're-
telling me to pull up an advocacy website, which is
Right, why don't you have an interview on a normal thing? What are you talking about?
not on par with a scientific study.
but it's featuring the person who did the scientific
Is there
study.
a counter study saying this is not correct?
Okay, if you,
Right, is there another one or an update or what? What are you talking about?
yes, an
Which
overwhelming
is
amount.
like,
Oh,
And no, there's not an overwhelming amount. No, they're not.
okay, sure.
let me pull that up.
Okay, can you
Look, if I pull up the NIH,
Sure.
and then you say go to transadvocate.com, you
Let's
understand
do
why I'm
this.
not going
Let's
to
do
do
this.
that.
Cool. Cornell
Cool.
University.
I'm not going to Breitbart for my source on desistance, okay?
Sounds good. Cornell University.
He's dismissing him. Look at that. He's like, I don't get whatever. He's giving. It's always so petty too, like that. Cool.
Did a meta study.
Let me, what is it?
Okay, Cornell University
This would be one study if he has it. This meta study. This would be one study. Yes. Okay.
did a meta study on 55
Can I
different
pull it up?
studies.
Can I
Just start looking up Cornell University meta study on detransition. Cornell University
Just do all my work for me.
did a meta study on 55 different studies on detransitioning. Of those 55, they found 52 of the studies showed that people detransitioned at a rate of less than 4%. And of those people who did it, the reason they detransitioned was social stigma. That's 52 of the 55. The other 3 of those 55, they didn't
Showed no assistance.
show a net negative effect. There was not a single study of the 55 that Cornell University looked at that showed detransitioning or gender affirming care being a bad thing for trans people. If anything,
That study wouldn't have shown that anyways. It's weird to say it doesn't show that. Like, no one, that's not a medical study into the side effect. What are you talking about? A bad thing. The question is if, you can't say that from that. You don't have enough information to say that. Again, when people make these absolute statements about this, like, there is no way that's true. Don't trust it.
it was a net positive. This is a meta study of a whole bunch of studies.
That's what the last one was, bro. The last one was a meta study. The last one, the one you talked about, was a meta study. Pretending like, I have a meta study that's better than the other studies, and you're not showing awareness that the other ones they just looked at were meta studies, is ridiculous.
Another meta study.
So wait, but hold on.
But I'm trying
wanna-
to pull up a scientific study to confirm what you're saying.
Yeah, I also
Give
just
me
want to ask a
title.
question
Yeah, stop saying all that shit. Just give the name or something.
about this too.
Sure.
So you're mentioning that this is a meta-analysis of studies
Yes.
on people who have detransitioned, but by definition, right, this is taking into account people who went through puberty blockers, hormone replacement therapy, physical surgeries.
Sure, for each study it was different things. In some of the studies it was people who were going through puberty blockers, some had hormone therapy, but a lot of them in one form or another had received gender affirming care. They were trans when the study.
He's just saying all of it. It has this, it has that, is blah, blah, is who knows? Who knows? It's accounting for all of it. Yeah, sure. But without explaining exactly how the study actually explained this.
First tried to identify these people, and then it looked at them years later.
And how is this sample collected? Because almost
There's no way he's going to know that. There's no fucking way he's going to know that.
every single issue or almost every single study I've seen from trans advocates on this issue use a convenience sample rather than doing some kind of controlled randomized test for the treatment.
So this is a meta study of a whole bunch of other studies. So
Okay.
you would have to go between each study, because at the end of the day, I don't want to fall in this trap that me and Tim were about to do, where
Oh, I didn't want to do this anyways. I didn't want to do the study trap anyways.
each of us starts saying like, well, I have a study. Well, you have a study. Well, I have a study. We could do this all day. So we should look at metadata, right? We
He already brought up a meta study, bro. The first one was a meta study.
should look at compromising data that looks over a whole bunch.
That's what already is being provided, man. You're so full of crap. That's what that one was. One of the studies it looked into was the one that you mentioned. It wasn't the one you mentioned. And the fact that you realize that it had that name that you mentioned in as your study, and you don't realize that it was a meta study because it was referencing other studies by name like that, it's amazing. It's mind-blowing.
Bunch of studies. A second metadata study
He just keeps making that fucking point. Like, oh, I got your meta study. No, there's lots of meta studies too. Okay? Let's calm down. A meta study does not make it absolute, especially when you're comparing against other meta studies too, and you're just pretending like they're not. Like you don't know that they were one.
that I want you to look at. Regret after gender affirming surgery, a systematic review and meta-analysis of prevalence. This went to Canada, the Netherlands, Belgium, UK, Italy, USA, Brazil, Sweden, Singapore, Germany, Norway, Ireland, Serbia, and an interview between 27 studies, 7,928 trans patients. It showed a less than 1%
Right.
regret rate.
So here's
Also, can I also
Regret rate? What are they talking about? People that are still... I don't think that study has any... Hold on. Let's see. What is the study?
Well, I have a study. Well, you have a study. Well, I have a
I need
study.
to hear about
We can do
this.
this all day, so we should look at
Because he was talking about something completely different now, I think. Like, it doesn't even have anything to do with detransitioning. He said regret rate. Like, it's not even finding out. It's not even looking. It's looking at people that are still...
metadata, right? We should look at compromising data that looks over a whole bunch
It's just looking at trans people and asking if they regret it.
of studies. A second metadata study that I want you to look at, regret after gender affirming surgery.
Regret after gender affirming surgery. This one doesn't have anything to do with the gender affirming surgery. Doesn't have anything to do with the topic, if I'm understanding this correctly. Regret a systematic review meta. Let me see. Background: there is an unknown percentage of transgender and gender nonconforming individuals who undergo gender affirmation surgeries that experiences regret. These are talking about the surgeries. This isn't talking about detransitioning. This has nothing to do with this. A systematic review of several databases was conducted. A total of 27. Well, yeah, but this is a totally unrelated topic to this, right? And let's see, how long ago Now, what I'm curious about is when did they ask? Methods, a systemic review was conducted, random effect meta-analysis, random effects, meta-analysis, meta-regression, subgroup sensitivity analysis. Oh, of course. They did all kinds of cooking the books, probably. Based on the review, there was extremely low prevalence of regret. Results: a total of 27 studies, pooling 7,000. That's what he said. They got that number, but they did. You're gonna to give you what my thing on this. I'd have to look at like what the heck, all that nonsense, random effects, meta. Like, what did they do? Meta regression and subgroup sensitivity analysis. Those are book cooking words, bro. How much they actually did, I don't know, but. Search methodology, following the preferred reporting item for systemic review of meta-analysis guidelines. Okay, study selection, search results were exported from the database into XML. I'd probably have to read this to give you any idea. But either way, this is a whole different topic. Like, this has nothing to do with desisting. These are people that are stuck with a surgery. Like, let's see. The in a current study, we identified, to the best of our knowledge, is the largest attempt. However, limitations, here we go, such as significant heterogeneity among studies and among instruments used to assess regret rates, and moderate to high risk of bias in some studies represent a big barrier for generalization of the results of this study. Well, look at this. The lack of validated questionnaires to evaluate regret in this population is a significant limiting factor. In addition, bias can occur because patients might refrain from expressing regrets due to fear of being judged by the interviewer. Moreover, the temporarity of the feeling of regret in some patients and the variable definition of regret may underestimate the real prevalence of true regret. He totally edited that part out, huh? One, it isn't even showing what he says it's showing. Two, he completely ignores the fact that you should be very careful with this study, and it might not really extrapolate very well.
Systematic review and meta-analysis of prevalence. This went to Canada, the Netherlands, Belgium.
Of course, he doesn't care about that, right? He's just going to talk about how far it went or whatever. I want to see that other study he talked about too. I want to see. I want to put his fucking cards on the table, man. If he's going to say this, you got to actually show. And I see issues with that study they brought up. I want to see what the issues are with the other study.
Belgium, UK, Italy, USA, Brazil, Sweden, Singapore, Germany, Norway, Ireland, Serbia.
They're saying as countries. The study says itself its issues, and it also says that it went to those places, but the studies they looked at themselves were very heavily biased, and they had what was it? Questionnaires, heterogeneity. He's saying it's all over the world, but the study, like, okay. Interesting.
And an interview between 27 studies, 7,928 trans patients. It showed a less than 1%.
He's definitely not going to bring up what I found, right? No,
Right.
So
Also, can I also mention something? Desistance and detransition.
I have another.
Yeah, that's a totally unrelated topic.
Okay, I got to address this right now. There is a.
I mean, not unrelated topic. Sorry, that's a total non sequitur. It's not logically consistent. I mean, logically, it doesn't have anything to do with the topic. Is detransition a thing? I mean, not detransition. Is desisting a thing? That's what they're talking about. Desisting. Not if people regret their surgery.
Problem we are facing in that you are saying a lot of things, and I can't pull up any sources.
Right, and the one I just found for that one, I just looked up. I see giant ass flaws written in the study. Hey, watch out! And he's still using it that way.
At the very least, all I did was Google searched it. I pulled up the 2 studies that were associated with it.
What's the other study? Yeah,
I have not given you
I don't want to fast forward because I want to know what that other study is.
Personal perspective on it.
What do you say,
You've
Norway?
now given me your personal view on it.
No, I've given you the studies. These are 2 meta studies.
2 meta studies. Again, the second one's super weak. The second one, the study itself says so.
I have a third meta
Are
study.
the studies? Let me.
What's the
please pull
first
them
one?
up.
Yeah.
I can't find what you're talking about.
The first one is Cornell University. They did a meta study.
They did a meta study. He doesn't know the name. Like, this is ridiculous. Cornell University detransition. Cornell University detransition. What now? What else did he give us? Detransition meta study. He keeps saying meta study like it's fucking like it's the holy grail. I told you he says one thing in each topic, right? Before it was that he died What was it for the abortion one? It was body autonomy, and this one is meta study. Okay, an analysis finds strong consensus on effectiveness of gender transition treatment. The What We Know project, more than 4,000 studies and 56 assessed whether he said 50 something, right? The year-long review screened more than 4,000 studies and identified 56 that assessed whether gender transition improves the mental well-being of transgender individuals. Okay. The analysis concluded that 93% of the studies found positive effects from gender transition, indicating a robust international consensus. Oh, I can read. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. Now, this still doesn't have to do... I can see the study maybe. I got what we know. It doesn't let me open it. What does scholar research say of the effect of gender transition? Oh, here we go. We conducted a systematic literature review of all peer-reviewed articles published in English 1991-2017 that assessed the effect of gender transition on gender well-being. We identified 55 studies. Why do I keep getting different numbers every time? 56 is said. Now the study itself says 51. He said some other number too. Primarily research on this topic, of which 51 they actually looked at. For some reason they don't say it here. 4,000 studies. So it was a meta-analysis, looked at 4,000 studies, only cut down the ones that agreed with it possibly to 56. Isn't that interesting, right? They had a pool of 4,000 on the topic. They only identified 56. We found no studies concluding that gender transition causes overall harm. Okay. So this study isn't looking for detransitioning at all. It has nothing to do with it either. These studies were trying to say whether it had harm. What was the well-being? Okay. Well, it doesn't tell us like that. This page gives you like nothing. Click on any thumbnail. Below are 51 studies that found that gender transitions improves the well-being of transgender people. Okay. So there's all 51 studies. But make clear you'd have to look at all the flaws in these, and they only just say what that it's good for them. Okay. Factors that are predicted to assess the treatment of gender dysphoria include adequate preparation and mental health support prior to treatment, proper follow-up care from knowledge providers, consistent family and social support, and a high-quality surgical outcomes. When it doesn't happen. Transgender individuals, particularly those who cannot access health treatments for gender dysphoria or encounter unsupportive social environments, are more likely than the general population to experience health challenges such as depression, anxiety, suicidality, and minority stress. What? Minority stress? What are you talking about? While gender transition can mitigate these challenges, the health and well-being of transgender people can be harmed by stigmatizing discriminatory treatment. It isn't even English, bro. Harmed by destigmatizing and discriminatory treatment. It should be discriminating treatment, right? Discriminatory treatment. Harmed by stigmatizing and discriminatory treatment. Oh, I guess not. I don't know. It's a weird sentence. Inherent limitation in the field of transgender health research is that it's difficult to conduct prospective studies, randomized control trials of treatments for gender dysphoria because of the individual's nature of treatment. The varying and unequal circumstance of population members is small size. Right, so that out of 4,000, they found 51. Okay, just say it. That's how many they were able to find. Out of the topic of gender transition, they found, out of the topic had 4,000, they identified 56 to say what they wanted to say. And these aren't cooked books at all. And, bro, if you look through these, each one, I bet you'll find issues with them. But it's very interesting. And again, this still isn't the topic he's talking about. He's using these studies that say the people that went through with it, the people that are still doing it, well, we don't know the people. We got to look through all the damn studies and find out. I don't know what the people selected. It says in its own description that the problem is that you can't do random groups. So it's who knows how many issues there could be with that study. That's ridiculous to use those two as your main thing to dismiss these other meta studies. They're meta studies too, man, and they do show this. Now you just have both things on the table. You have the, like, if let's say you're just counting all the studies, then you would still be result with desisting still being very high, right? What you would get is desisting is very high, but the people that go through with it and stay through with it generally don't regret it. I don't know about that being true, but like I don't know about the issues with those surveys to say that definitively. But let's say we assume they were all true, all the studies were true. That's the conclusion you would make, a reasonable person would make, I think. So even then, he's not making a reasonable conclusion or debunking anything. He's just saying random, kind of related things that don't disagree with the actual topic.
The name of it.
It's Cornell University's meta study of 72
These most certainly don't debunk. They definitely don't.
studies on gender affirming care. Of that, 55 of the studies were directly related to detransitioning.
What meta study on?
Right. They look. Wait. It doesn't say they're directly affected to. It says they screened more than 4,000 studies, and 56 assessed whether gender transition improves the mental well-being of transgender individuals. That's it. It's not that it has to do with transitioning. All 4,000 do, obviously. Like, duh, bro. This guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. He doesn't even know how to read the words that are on the screen.
I just want to flag that
What's the title?
desistance and
What's the title of the thing I can
detransitioning are
look up?
two different things.
Right. That's a big point. Yep.
Right.
well.
What?
Look up
Cornell University.
Cornell University. What does scholarly research say?
I found it. If I was research on this show, bro, I would have already found the things and pulled them up, right? We already read both of them.
Yeah, but the effect of gender transition.
I know I
on
paused,
gender
but
trans
still.
well-being.
Oh, here we go. I found it.
Nice. And the third meta study that I want to bring up is a U.S. study. It's a 2015 U.S. transgender study.
But this isn't a scientific research paper that's peer reviewed.
No, this is a meta-analysis of science.
Right, but it hasn't had to go through any further review. It's a good point, yes. It's a meta-analysis are still usually put forth as studies and then, reviewed and everything. But he's right. Well, I looked at it's not on it. It's not like a published thing. They just put it on their website. That's actually a really good thing that I didn't think to say. Yeah, it's on. If you want to know how to get to it, it's on what did I Google? Just Google what I Googled. Cornell University detransition meta study. You'll find it first link. But yeah, you go to that, and that's in a news article. And then you click the new analysis. You go to that. That's just a thing on their webpage. Yeah, that's actually a really good call. That's actually a really good point by Tim. This hasn't been meta reviewed. The school could be cooking it for all the hell we know. Yeah, of course they could. Yeah, this is not meta reviewed. This is not met any kind of guidelines. Yeah, good point.
Scientifically researched papers.
Did you get that from what
Okay,
we
but-
know?
but-
Because all the other ones, like the ones they brought up were meta studies and they were peer reviewed. Yeah, they have stronger evidence. Yeah. Damn.
Inequality.
But hold on. Do we have a standard on why should we should accept?
If you want to know their methodology, there's a
Because it's a school that did it. That's why.
click here to view the methodology thing.
No, there's no methodology, you weirdo. All they did was go through a bunch of studies and pick some out and throw them on a thing and say it. Oh, you click here to view it. Never mind, it does that. Sorry. What was their methodology? Search methodology and research analysis on the effect of gender transition. Okay, whoa, this is important. I didn't realize I had this. I actually am dumb. We conducted comprehensive, blah, blah. Our research protocol was developed in accordance with Prisma. I don't care about that. Participants, adults who have been diagnosed with gender dysphoria, who have transitioned gender, or who self-identify as transgender. Okay, interventions. Any medical service that affirms the individual's self-identified gender identity, a relevant medical service was any service, treatment, or procedure indicated for the treatment of gender dysphoria, and the accepted expert standard of care for the health of transsexual, transgender, and gender nonconforming individuals maintained by the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, 7 2011. I don't know what those standards are. Comparison, no specific, but I assume it means just changing names too, which means the results, they're also talking about people that just change their names. They're not just talking about surgeries or any of that. They're talking about the people just named, the studies with just names are in there too, or they fit the qualification. Comparison, no specific comparison design was required so long as the study investigated the effect of gender transition on transgender well-being. There's no way to know anything about that really. Assessment of a transgender individual's mental or social well-being is the outcomes, such as successful functioning mental states, quality of life, or life of relationship satisfaction. So we don't even know what the good thing in the study was. Study design. Any peer-reviewed study that undertook an evaluate quantitative or qualitative assessment of relevant outcomes for the population of interest. We did not impose requirements regarding minimum length of follow-up or other aspects. We have no idea how soon they asked them. We don't know if they asked them immediately after the surgery. That's crazy. They did not put a minimum. They're not coming back and checking a year later under these. They put no minimum. To identify eligible studies, we began by searching PubMed using the medical subject headings, transgender person, transsexualism, They put a bunch of stuff. This search got 4,000. We then performed a hand search of journals known to address transgender issues. Right, so they just Googled it in this thing. They just typed in Google shit. And then they went, it's hand search. Yeah, they clicked them. From this search, we selected additional studies that appeared to address our research question. So they could have just pruned them out. Like, we have no way of knowing whether they did or not. People just went and clicked and said, okay, yeah, I like this one, I like this one. This is such a ridiculous meta-analysis compared to normal ones. That's why it wasn't published anywhere but the website. On the basis of title reviews, we narrowed our list to 589, or 4,000, that appeared to address our 589 did. We then read the abstracts then they read the abstracts. They just looked at title reviews. They just read the titles of each one. They might have missed important ones. Anyway, so they had 4,000. This ghetto as hell. They Googled shit in a research thing. They typed in, they clicked them and they looked at this title and they go, yeah, that's right. No, and they went through all those and they got 589. Okay. Then they read the abstracts. Then they went down, directly addressed well-being, the conduct of gender transition, got 124. The final step was for 2 reviewers to independently read the full text. Wow, so they didn't read them until 124. They determined if directly addressed our research question. We eliminated studies, for instance, that did not assess the outcome of gender transition, that investigated minors instead of adults, and that we eliminated studies, for instance, that did not... Bro, this is the smoking gun. We eliminated studies, for instance, that did not assess the outcomes of gender transition, that investigated minors instead of adults. That none of these studies looked at minors. And that evaluated physical rather than mental health outcomes. They eliminate physical. Oh, he said it shows it nothing wrong. They eliminated physical outcomes too. They eliminated children. They eliminated, did not assess the outcome of gender transition. That doesn't matter. They eliminated minors and they eliminated health outcomes. Because we did not want to conflate assessments of specific surgical techniques, for example. Holy moly. So here's the thing. Here's some flaws with this meta-analysis that he acts like is flawless and blah, blah, blah. And doesn't even know that what they presented him was a meta-analysis too. But anyway, so that's ridiculous. The study eliminated minors and it eliminated physical health, and then he says it shows that the people were not, there was nothing bad that happens to transgenders. It was just a cherry-picked thing. It's just trying to say that. We identified 56 peer-reviewed consisting of primary research that met all the above criteria. Consisting of primary research, right. We then classified them according to whether they found improved well-being, but had mixed or no findings. Right, or found that gender transition causes harm. Again, they're only looking for mental harm. Separately from the 56 studies evaluated, we included in our portal 16 additional articles and of literature reviews and practitioner guidelines that we not count in our tally. We provide these as an added resource for researchers, practitioners, journalists, policymakers, and the public. So this is one, he's right, it's not peer-reviewed. It's kind of ridiculous to present it like this. It has pretty big flaws. One, they didn't come back. They did not do a follow-up. Two, minors are not included. So to present this against gender against the desist thing is nonsensical because the desist thing is about children. Then 3, no physical. Of course, that's important too. So a lot of surgeries aren't included in this. Wow, they really, man, I told you, every time you poke under these people, the things they're using are not legit. Every time. This is baloney. This is baloney to use this and to act like this is as legitimate as what they presented.
You can find that out for yourself right there.
But
I
this is not
found
a
it out.
peer-reviewed scientific paper.
This is a meta-analysis.
He keeps saying it like he's dumb. No, Tim is right. Meta-analyses are still published. What the fuck are you talking about? It doesn't make it so it shouldn't have been. It should have been. That's why it seems political. Is because it's just posted on the website and it was just done manually. People picking shit out with all these they didn't even force like any kind of real restrictions to the thing.
Okay, so I
peer-reviewed
reject
scientific
it.
papers.
I reject it outright.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to reject that,
Bro, next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna tell me ivermectin is some cure because of a
This has
meta-analysis.
nothing to do with it.
No, bro.
This has nothing to
You
do with
can't come.
ivermectin.
You can't come to me when everyone tries.
Tim's right. This source is garbage. And I dug into it now, right? We know why it's garbage now. What gross tactics, man.
About ivermectin because of a meta-analysis that I reject and say I don't think it works.
You can go-
and then
sorry,
have someone
we're
from
not
the
talking
left
about
come to
ivermectin.
me
We're not
and
talking
now
about
claim
ivermectin.
meta-analysis is effective. No, the point is this.
The point is he keeps saying meta-analysis, and he freaking what he is going against right now are meta-analyses. Like that's what they were looking at the start. They actually had one though.
I said give me a study and you cannot do it.
I am
right.
on my way to give you a third.
He hasn't given him. Well, he did. What was the second one a study?
Meta study, a
Those aren't
combination of
studies.
studies. These
Those
are
aren't studies.
No,
The second one was one. The second one was one.
if we go study to study
Okay,
back and
bro.
forth, Tim, this is going to take fucking forever.
Because you don't have them. You don't have them fucking forever. You don't have them. You don't have them. It's not fucking forever. It would actually be real evidence. That's why you're trying to get out of this now. Even though the studies are cooked in your favor, you still can't do it when it actually gets into the details. You just go, oh, well, fake. There's no truth anymore. Everybody says everything. So
So let's
Give me
look.
Nice.
one study. One study.
One,
One study.
yeah.
One.
he's laughing. One. I'm with him. Give them the third.
I've given you two. Give me
No,
one.
this is embarrassing.
I've got
It's not embarrassing. He gave you real studies. You got some random website. I mean, it's a college, but nonetheless, there was pretty big errors in the methodology. Not errors, but like flaws. It didn't count children. It didn't count minors. It didn't count minors. The whole thing's about minors. Neither study he mentioned applies to the sisters. One was about, which also said it was biased in itself, and it was about, it was about if they regretted it, right? And then this one is about the quality of life, but it doesn't include minors.
like
Embarrassing. You
20
can't give me one study. I've given you two, and I didn't even make an.
And he has ones actually about the topic. His meta-analysis ones are actually about the topic being discussed.
Assertment. I googled it and pulled up what I
You
found.
want individual studies
I have
instead of
Googled-
meta-analysis, which is ridiculous.
No, he's saying study because he wants it published. Do you not get it? Do you not get the difference? The one of yours is published. The second one is published, bro. How do you not understand bro? If you're bringing up studies, you should know how they work. One is published. The middle one. Is the third one actually published? Bring it up. What's the name?
But sure, here's individual studies. The mental
No, it's not about individuals. It's about them being published. It's about them being able to check them.
health outcomes in transgender non-binary youth receiving gender affirming care from February 25th, 2022. This shows
Let me type it and pull it up for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Wasn't that the one
But I
we
can explain to
looked
you
at
while you're
already?
doing your own research.
Kids
who
I need
receive
you to
puberty
tell me what the name
blockers
is so I
and
can pull it up.
mental health outcomes in
Mental
Oh,
health
mental health
outcomes
outcomes.
in
transgender and non-binary youth receiving gender affirming care, February 25th, 2022, peer-reviewed study.
This probably still won't really matter exactly on the thing, right?
The findings: kids who
So far, everything I've checked did not show a point. Like, am I supposed to check every one of his stupid things, you think?
received puberty blockers and hormone therapy had 60% lower odds of moderate or severe depression and 73% lower odds of suicidality. Here's another individual study for you.
Hold on. That nothing to do with resistance.
None of this does. None of this does. None of this has to do with decisions.
Do you want to go back to desistance study?
That's all they wanted. That's all they wanted ever. You never had any.
That's what I was asking you about. I Google
You didn't ever go against it.
search desistance. Wikipedia
Look
has
up-
two studies that say it's 61 to 98%. You said that's wrong. I said, what's
is-
your
it-
source?
yes.
You didn't give me one.
It's wrong because he has other studies that say other things. That's not wrong.
I did on the spot.
You
No, you didn't. Neither of those disagree with that, man.
gave me
It's
a
okay, we're on
meta-analysis
camera, so
that is
we
not
don't
peer
get to go
reviewed.
back.
It's not a peer reviewed source.
Meta-analysis. If you want to go back and forth, Tim, on single
No, it's not about the studies. It's about that one. The first one you linked is not published. It's just a thing posted, and they kind of did it like a study. And you read the methodology. They just Google searched the things in the whatever research journal database thing. How does he not get it, man? How does he not get the problem?
studies, like I said, this can take forever. So it
No, it's not. You just don't understand things.
Do you not have a single study?
I've named you tons of studies.
No. You've given me a meta-analysis, not a single study.
A meta
Well, analysis can be a study, yeah, but oh god, I wish somebody could explain that, like the situation to them, please.
analysis combines other studies. Do you understand?
Don't say, do you understand? Like, he's dumb. You're clearly dumb, bro. You did not get that the first one they were using was a meta-analysis. Let's not start acting like other people are the ones not getting things. Both people here don't get that a meta-analysis is still a study. It is still published. Well, I mean, Tim gets it more than he does, and he's getting talked down to.
How that works?
Yes.
So of that, the
So what
55
How that works, you definitely do not. You definitely do not.
studies that
Don't pretend, man. I fucking hate this fake intellectual posturing. He is a fake, a phony. He's completely fake and phony, man. He does not know how the studies work. He does not, or he would know what he was taught. What the issue is here is that Tim was asking for a published study. He can't provide one for that topic. I mean, that specific point. So focus. Why not bring up that the second one is published? Why not talk about that third one they was saying? Maybe that one's published. Oh my God. There's clear evidence that he does not understand the things he's pretending to understand. Tim is not pretending to understand stuff. He's trying to do his best, and he gets that there should be there should be some standard, and he's right. He's right. He doesn't quite get that a meta-analysis is still like a type of study, and they are still published. But he assumes that there should be a published thing, and he's right. His assumption is 100% right. The Serfs guy not only doesn't know, his assumption is totally wrong.
Is
of the
that
55
you've
studies
got
that have looked
72
at,
studies that have drawn a
52 of them
conclusion, and then
said
someone
that it
looked
is
at
less
them and
than
made a
4%,
different.
Tim.
You're saying that out of 72 studies that found a
No,
conclusion,
55. It's
50 out of-
These did not say anything about fucking desisting.
72, 55 talked about
I was-
detransitioning.
And the numbers aren't right either. Again, the numbers are let me give you the actual numbers again, since this guy's just gonna make shit up all the time, or they keep changing it. Again, in the first article it said 50. In the news article about it said 56. It says we identify 55. I assume they keep editing this as time goes on, probably, right? Which makes it pretty fucking shady. They're just like, pick and choosing and pruning it when they need to. But whatever, but there's some clear flaws with it. Like, one, it eliminated children. He's going to say 4% were happy or something, right? Or whatever. He's saying it means that whether they detransitioned or not. It's not about that. It's about if they're happy. And then second, if their well-being, if they're well off, if they were, was it just mental health, right? Mentally, and not physically. That's all it shows. And it eliminated children. So it has nothing to do with detransitioning. It's so dishonest to bring this up. This meta-analysis eliminated all studies about minors. It has no minors in the study. That's fucking dishonest as all hell. I wonder if they call him out on it, but it's dishonest as fuck.
It was a hypothetical number.
51.
You're looking at
52, but yeah,
a bunch of studies that have come to conclusions
of course.
that are peer reviewed, and you're saying, but someone analyzed those.
Cornell University did.
Who from Cornell?
Click here to view
Right,
our
right,
methodology
Uh-huh.
and learn about their methodology. You just reject.
Their methodology, it rejected all minors. He did not click it. He did not read it. He's shown it now because he's bringing this up in a conversation about desisters, not detransition. Sorry, desisters. Why are these people always so fucking dishonest? It's really.
It outright when you saw it. You were like,
Because
"Oh, I
it's not a
reject this
study.
outright."
It's not a
It's a
study.
meta.
You can, bro. I'm accepting it, and guess what? No, it's not the meta-analysis doesn't mean anything. It wasn't published, right? He can't act like that, like it's telling some good information, blah, blah. It's not a meta-analysis. Bro, they did the same thing anyone could do. They Googled in the fucking... What a dickhead, man.
Analysis of
Sorry, he's not a dickhead. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Don't say that. Don't call people dickheads. That's not nice.
studies. These are different things. I'm
what you're-
explaining that
but
to you.
the problem is these studies.
They're not different things. See, he doesn't understand that. He's not explaining anything. He's making people stupid. Why are these people that are online on these fucking YouTube videos, like... They don't know basic knowledge to even be up here, man. Why is Tim talking to this man? Tim, what are you doing, man? Tim, you're totally right, but why are you talking to this guy is what I want to know. I have an open call to Tim now. What are you talking to this man, man? He's clearly incompetent. Why do you have him on?
Have their own conclusions. You're ignoring.
Like, you just let random people that are just lying to your face, and you know they're lying to your face. What is this content, man? Tim, if anything, the only thing I'm disappointed is not like just like why do this? I guess I mean, I guess I'm not talking too much shit. I don't know, man. I'm sure he's got some value in it. I just don't get it. I don't know.
Find their conclusions to reach their
Let me
findings.
let me
That's how they do
explain
this.
for those that want to understand what I'm trying to say.
I get
During
what Tim's
COVID,
saying. Yeah.
There were a whole bunch of studies.
Let's just
done
skip ahead though, because we already know his studies are full of shit, and they're not going to get to that for who knows how long. So let's skip ahead. We still got a chunk, man. I'm going to edit this thing down.
individuals.
You're wrong about that 80 to 85% because
You can't say he's wrong, man. Your studies are gibberish, and they're not even related to kids. Isn't it so fucked up? If he says a goddamn thing about kids with his stupid fucking meta-analysis right now, what a liar. Let's see. Bro,
she's the one who actually did that study. She's the one who did the study you cited. So she explains
What?
why it's being misused.
Oh, in the
it is not
interview,
true.
I can say this.
whether or not that study's true, whatever, but it has nothing to do, all these other things don't say anything.
There are arguments about what is true all day, every day. There's arguments that M theory is wrong and that science is unwilling to give up because.
That it wasn't effective at preventing or treating COVID-19.
Oh, Jesus,
Let me
COVID-19
finish
now.
this sentence. Come on, you brought me on your show. Let me finish this.
Bro, he
You
does
only
this
go
all
on
the time.
puberty blockers for a short amount of time before you can be put onto HR.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, man. Do not stand for puberty blockers, man. Those leave little kids with an inability to ever function down there. Like, fuck off, man. Don't pretend this shit.
RT. They do not want to keep them on puberty blockers, and that way you avoid a lot of the potential negative side effects
We
from
had
that.
They don't, man.
Helena Kirshner on the show who walked in.
He's just lying.
My point is not about any kind of beef.
Conversation.
Problems. More than 10,000 adverse event reports were filed with the FDA.
Yeah, he's bringing up all the different drugs and
And
stuff.
they were really careful. And the mother saying, "Do it or I'll wring your neck," which is
They think this is something happening to them, and parents pushing back and being like, "No, this is
Kids,
wrong."
Jesus
Thomas
Christ. Let's keep going. I don't think there's anything interesting left for all
come
that.
out, and if they're queer, bisexual, whatever it is, and because of that, they feel safer expressing that. That's why Gen Z of all
Oh, they're talking about why there's more people that are identifying whatever. Oh my God.
concerned there was a
Uh-huh.
transgenocide.
Yeah. So here's
this is the actual statistics on people increasing. You can see the red one.
Mm.
That is Gen Z. That is the amount of people.
Right, so that's suspicious. So what the fuck's up with that? And they say, oh, it's because more people are comfortable. But then they go, oh, but everybody's worried and all these racists are everywhere and blah, 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 blah. And it's never, and then like, what are you talking about? Both can't be true. It doesn't make any sense. It goes, well, around their generation, more people are more forgiving. And no, that's not true. We all know that's not true. It's just pretend, man. It's clearly some kind of social thing that's happening. Instead of painting your fingernails black, you paint them pink now. Okay? Instead of painting your fingernails black and putting a bunch of eyeliner on, instead you paint them pink and you put fucking makeup on. It's the same thing. Or what about the opposite? Instead of a girl, putting on like getting like ripping up her stockings and her clothes and shit. Instead, she is I guess putting chia seeds on her face so she grows a mustache that looks like chia stuff. I don't know what they do.
People who in Gen Z, it's skyrocketing. It looks
So-
like they're
so-
identifying more than ever because their generation feels more comfortable
They draw a mustache on with a Sharpie. I don't know.
talking about this kind of
they
stuff.
also-
So you don't
more
think that
media
there's
about
like
it.
a transgenocide or anything like that?
I don't think that there's a trans indoctrination that is coming through media. That is,
Genocide.
No, what the fuck are you talking about? He doesn't understand. At no point does he listen to what somebody else is saying.
I said it.
yes, and I'm saying that I don't think there's a trans indoctrination coming through media
Who fucking cares?
that is programming kids to become trans. I think that's ridiculous.
That's not, you're making up a thing to debunk without answering his question.
And if you want to change topics to talk about trans
No, he's asking you a question.
genocide, we can move on to that. But
is it- is it-
you
is it-
asked
Not move on to that. Just answer yes,
me
no.
specifically why is there a spike?
Why are they all so wavy like this? Also lizardy, weaselly.
1,000 and Abraham bodily.
It's a host of different things for obvious medical reasons, and I think that serves an important purpose.
So
What's he
They're-
talking
they're-
about?
The military is mandatory vaccination for the same reasons.
using
Oh
so-
God! All right, we got it, guys. We
name is
did it.
Seamus Coughlin. What I'm well for the
I think it's rude of it. So are you, Seamus?
not Serge though.
No, Serge is,
No,
Serge
Serge is
is
cool.
it's like a wavelength.
That was quite intense.
Well, we still got more. We're gonna do this members only uncensored.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody else. I think I'm good with that. I don't know if this analysis is useful anyway. I don't know. But What a phony. He got caught in 4K though. His studies are bullshit. If anybody brings up those talking points he used, gave you the tools. Look those up. Those are bullshit. And always do that. Look up the actual studies and check out what the hell they're talking about. Tim was right. And also the study he brought up to specifically go against, to show why the sister study wasn't true, was a study that was a meta-analysis that excluded all studies to minors. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind next time they start lying to you like that. If you share any of his views, you might want to rethink them. You might be on the default setting. Have a good day, guys. Don't be on the default setting. Get off that. Go back on it if you think it's worth doing, but get off that default setting, guys. Don't be like that.